Afternoon, everyone. We have a tornado warning that has just been issued for those of you in Lincoln and Moore counties until 3 o'clock p.m. I've been watching this supercell here over the past hour. It has a history of producing a tornado earlier in Lauderdale County, Alabama. Now, we haven't had confirmation since that there's been one on the ground ever since it's been in Giles County, but this storm has re-intensified and recycled enough to where the Weather Service in Huntsville has the belief that there could be a tornado that may be produced out of this storm. So let's get you the latest on that real quick here. So this is a severe thunderstorm that's capable of producing a tornado. It's located 9 miles east of Pulaski, and it's moving east at 30 miles an hour. So as far as the expected arrival time in this area, this will be in Fayetteville in Lincoln County around 2:45 p.m. Here's some of the other locations that are in line of this tornadic thunderstorm. This includes Mulberry, Chestnut Ridge, Howell, Belleville, McBurg, Delrose, Harms, Mimosa, Boones Hill, and Kelso. So everybody in this northern end of Lincoln County and the far western end of Lynchburg, Moore County should be heading into their shelter. So take your immediate tornado precautions. Again, if you have a basement, go to there. If you don't, enter your room on the lowest level. If you have an interior hallway or closet or bathroom, that will also fit well as long as it's on the lowest level. Bring blankets and pillows if you have to, and bring a helmet with you as well to protect yourself from potential flying debris. Now, on this latest scan here on the radar, it does look like this storm did become a little bit more disorganized there than it was earlier, so that's some good news. But let's check velocity here and see if we got any rotation. And thankfully, this is a fairly weak rotating thunderstorm, but there's just enough of this red and green down here south of the Frankwing community here, right along the Giles and Lincoln County line, where there could be just enough rotation here, granted weak, for a possible tornado. So this is going to head up here, cross Highway 64 up in here, which is the main road here that runs from Pulaski out here towards Fayetteville and eventually up towards Winchester. But this is the area right now where you see all this red and green right here, and it's heading off to the east-northeast at about 30 miles an hour. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go over here to Max 2 and put a storm track on this thunderstorm here, so that way you get kind of an idea of where this is going here. And I'll double-check the speed and make sure I have it right. So, yep, it's moving east at 30. So let's see here. I got this on the linear mode. Let me get this into cellular mode, and we'll track that from there. Get that centered. There we go. So it's moving northeast at 30, and I'll track it out here to Lynchburg to give some advance notice in case it re-strengthens again. So McBurg at about 2:28. Again, these times are in Central Time, so add an hour in the Eastern Time zone. Taylortown at about 2:33, Boones Hill 2:36, Hewley at 2:40, Belleville there at 2:58, so close to 3 o'clock there. The Mulberry community around 3:06. And heading into downtown Lynchburg, if this holds together, at 3:19, which is just under an hour. So while downtown Lynchburg around the distillery is not in this warning, on the far western end of the county up here by 2:31, 4:31 is in the warning. So any communities up in there need to be in their tornado safe place. And now it's a little ways away from northern Franklin County, but if this cell does hold together, it could make an impact towards Estill Springs and perhaps areas north of Winchester and Deckard here within the next hour or two. So heads up in northern Franklin County, because if this storm holds together, it is going to be moving into your area, and it may also clip the southern end of Coffee County, and it may make a run here towards the southern end of Grundy County as well. So again, just a quick heads up here for people in those areas here where I'm got the hand pointer here. You got to keep an eye on this supercell because it is heading east-northeast in your direction. Hopefully it weakens before then, and let's hope so, because this does have a history of producing a tornado. So let's jump back over here and see if we could see if we see any debris on this. Thankfully, no. So we don't have any debris signatures or anything like that. So good sign there. I also have not seen any new reports coming in from spotters or anything like that of any tornado on the ground. So that's a good news. It's just an upper level weak circulation. As I said, it's a very disorganized cell right now, but again, these storms have the capability of being cyclic. They'll go through a cycle where they're very weak, then they ramp up, and then they ramp back down. I mean, it's up and down. I mean, that's pretty much how these storms are going to go today. When you have a cell like this that forms well out ahead of any line or anything like that, when it's by itself like this, it's going to go through these cycles, and there's going to be times where it gets intense and times where it looks really weak. And a great call here for issuing this warning here, because just to account for the possibility that this thing could still try to re-strengthen up. Now, I do want to check real quick and make sure we don't have any other storms out there, and so far we don't. We have this other tornado warning up in the Knoxville area, so if you know anybody that's up towards UT and up towards Clinton and Oak Ridge, make sure they are taking shelter up there. They got a tornado warning up to the north and east until 3:45 Eastern time. And that's up for Knox and Anderson counties, which is outside of our coverage area. Again, if you have family or friends up there, make sure they are aware of what's going on. And our main event back here for the evening hours is just beginning to form out here towards West Tennessee and North Mississippi. So we got a long way to go before this stuff clears on out here. And it's not going to be until probably closer to midnight before this stuff can finally exit the viewing area here. So, as I said, we got a long way to go here. We got a good at least 8 hours to go with this. So right now, this is the only area of concern right now. So Lincoln County is the only county in our area that has a tornado concern at the moment. And you can see right down in here, they're just south of Highway 64 and northeast of the Delrose community. You see this little hook right here, and that's what we have to watch right here, because a tornado will generally form right here on this, where the red here goes to the yellow, where you have this very sharp cutoff in here. So if a tornado does form, that's where it's going to be, at the bottom of this hook. Now, to the north of that storm, you'll have some hail potential. Now, the hail doesn't look all that large on here, probably maybe pea to marble size. So that's going to follow Highway 64 here and cross over the 431, 231 corridor here, just between Petersburg and Fayetteville and up towards the Belleville area. So those in those areas need to be alert also for the possibility of a little bit of hail. But on the south end, that's where we have to watch for the possible tornado. And there's also a lot of lightning here developing out ahead of this. So another indication to show if a storm is strengthening or weakening is the indication of lightning. When you see more lightning popping up like this, that is a sign that a storm is strengthening. It doesn't always necessarily mean the rotation is strengthening, but it usually means that the thunderstorm itself is strengthening. And when it decreases, of course, it usually means it's weakening. So in the last few minutes, there has been a little bit of an uptick. Again, as I said earlier, just a minute ago, these storms go through these cycles. Now, here's the velocity update. And again, the rotation continues to be very weak on this. It's not very organized, so that's good. But again, there's just enough evidence right in here between McBurg and East Cyruston here, west of Fayetteville, that there could be a small tornado in here. And it could touch down very quickly as it moves off to the east and northeast here at about 30 miles an hour. So again, those of you in the polygon here also, Delrose take cover, Mulberry take cover, same with Kelso, the city of Fayetteville, up here towards Petersburg. Petersburg, you're in this. Now, the Marshall County side of Petersburg is not in this, but the Lincoln County side of Petersburg is, so take cover there. Bledsoe community of Lincoln County needs to be sheltered. Same with Chestnut Ridge. Boonville here, you're kind of on the edge here, but I would still take cover because you're close enough to be considered in this. And again, this includes the very far western tip of Lynchburg-Moore County, but not quite downtown. So all around the distillery, all that, you still need to stay alert, but you don't have an imminent tornado threat at the moment. So again, as I said, this circulation here, the velocity here is very noisy, and what you look for here for a possible tornado is if you see any red and green meeting up against one another. And so far, it's very broad and it's still weak, so that's a good sign. As I said, there's still enough evidence here, especially when you have a little bit of a hook, like what you see here on reflectivity, that does show the possibility of a small tornado. And the hail size has actually jumped up a little bit. It's not quite to severe level yet, but it's probably, I'd say, about dime to penny size here on this north flank, on the north flank of the storm here. So it's basically going right down Highway 64 here through the western end of Lincoln County. So Taylortown's getting it right now. Same with Boones Hill and Hewley, getting some pretty decent small hail here. Nothing damaging, but it's enough definitely to make noise. And it's heading up towards the Howell community. So heads up there. Now this is not a protect your property kind of hail, thankfully, but it's just going to be noisy there for a few minutes. But again, stay in your shelters. Be in those tornado shelters here until this passes. And so far, there's nothing behind this that suggests that there's another cell right behind this. But again, still got to be on guard because we're going to have more thunderstorms that are going to be capable of producing tornadoes here as we go through the evening hours, especially once we get after about 6 o'clock. It's just something we got to keep an eye on. Now, I'm also behind the scenes here checking this other tornado warning up in Knoxville for those of you that may have friends or relatives up at UT. And it's a pretty strong indication of a possible tornado. So, and it's heading up towards the Halls area of northern Knox County. So, if you know anybody up in that part of Knox County, they need to be in their tornado safe place. And the tornado watch that was issued for Cumberland County, which was the Crossville area, that has been allowed to expire because that first wave of storms has exited that area. So, Crossville area for now, you don't have a tornado watch, and nobody else has a tornado watch, at least at the moment. But we do expect to get one here probably by 3 o'clock, I'd imagine, if not a little sooner or later. So just a little bit of a roundtable here discussion on the other things happening too. Again, we got a lot ongoing here, so stay with me here as we go through the next little bit. Now, I don't see any other reports coming in. Now, the lightning actually is decreased just a little bit there, so hopefully that's a good sign there that there may be a little bit of a weakening trend with this. But again, this is still a pretty healthy-looking thunderstorm, even though the rotation's fairly weak on it as it moves off to the east from there. So again, that's the latest velocity scan. Let me double-check the debris. Thankfully, again, nothing there, so that's some good news. I know this little spot right here might look a little suspicious here with the light blue right there, but that's actually just clear air inflow right here, so nothing to worry about there. So again, here's the west side of Fayetteville, right over here to the right of the screen. So the high school and all that runs right here on the outer bypass. This is going to pass just north of there. It's getting ready to cross a 273 here, or pass maybe just north of there over the next few minutes. And then after that, it will get up here towards 431, pass north of Elk Mill Village, and then it will cross 231, and then out here towards Highway 50. Again, that's if this thunderstorm holds together. So, and remember, though, these storms will have the potential today, especially these little supercells, they will have the possibility where they could go on, at least the storms themselves could go for a pretty far distance. So there's a possibility, hopefully not, but there's a chance we may be tracking this thing right up into the rest of Moore County, perhaps Franklin County, and who knows, maybe even Grundy County. So again, there's a lot that can happen between now and then, but I just want you to be aware that long-track supercell storms are not out of the question. So we just got to be on guard of this over the next little bit here. So again, I'm not seeing any other indications at this time. There's actually a shower that's formed to the south, east of this tornadic thunderstorm here near the Elora area, moving up towards Huntland, but so far that cell isn't showing signs of being severe, so that's good news. But again, if anybody's watching from Giles County, you're all clear from this. The tornado warning was just canceled for you. It's now primarily and entirely a Lincoln County issue, mainly north of the Park City area and north and east of Ardmore. And this is moving off to the north and east here at about 30 miles an hour. So these storms are actually moving kind of slow today. They're not moving very fast. So they haven't really sped up much. I mean, at least they're moving, but they're not moving faster, or anything. But again, here's the new velocity scan I just got in here. Red and green looks a little tighter right here. It's still weak, but a little tighter. Just north of the Pearl City area, and it's moving pretty much due east. And this is a good, I would say, 5 miles here west of the center of downtown Fayetteville, which sits about right over here. In fact, I'll circle it just to show you here where downtown Fayetteville is. It's right here. So here's the area of circulation. Here's the center of the city of Fayetteville, and it's moving something like this. That's the track of where it's going. So area of rotation here, city of Fayetteville here. Up here is the Egham community. Up here is Hewley, and this is the Harms community right here, right along 273. So that's going to be the area of concern for at least the next 10 to 20 minutes. And again, as we look at the reflectivity, again, you still see this little hook right here. It's broad, but you got this little hook trying to develop here, north of West Cyruston. And to the north of this, you got the hail. And that's all moving to the east here fairly quickly here at about 30 miles an hour. Now, we just got this in, so heads up here. We have a tornado watch that has been issued for most of our coverage area. So let me rattle down the counties here. So what I'm going to do actually here is I'm actually going to pull up this watch. And I got the ability to do this here. I got to turn it on. But we have a new tornado watch that it has been issued here. That does include most of our area. Let me get you a time frame on that. That watch is going to go in effect here through the next 7 hours until 10 o'clock. So if you're in the following counties here, you are under a tornado watch till 10 o'clock. So Jackson, DeKalb, and Marshall in Alabama, Dade, Walker, Catoosa, and Chattanooga counties in Georgia, and Hamilton, Marion, Franklin, Moore, Lincoln, Coffee, Grundy, Squatchy, Bledsoe, Van Buren, Warren, Cannon, DeKalb, White, Cumberland, and Putnam. Those of you in those counties I just named are under a tornado watch until 10 o'clock tonight. This is for the possibility of a few tornadoes with a couple of intense tornadoes possible, scattered large hail likely with isolated large hail events to 2.5 inches in diameter possible, and scattered damaging wind gusts of up to 50 to 60 miles an hour, even up to 70 in some areas also possible. So that's the information on the tornado watch there. So it includes pretty much most of our coverage area. Now, areas further east, out towards Dayton and Cleveland, Athens, Blue Ridge Mountains, up towards even Knox County, you don't have a tornado watch right now. You don't have a formal watch, but I would expect as these thunderstorms move in those areas later this evening, you will be eventually included in a watch. So this is really just the beginning here of what's going to be a very active evening. So right now, let's get back to this one tornado warning here. So just a reminder, most of our area, except Cleveland and Athens and Blue Ridge, are all under a tornado watch through 10 o'clock tonight. Again, that rotation, unfortunately, it did strengthen back up again. As I said, this storm's a cyclic storm. It's probably going to do that. It's going to go up, it's going to go down. So here's the strengthened area of rotation, moving along 273, moving east towards the west end of Fayetteville here. So it actually curved a little bit to the right. And remember, when you have a strengthening supercell, it will usually move to the right of the mean flow. So instead of moving northeast, it tries to make more of a due east move. So that's something we have to watch here, because if this does develop a tornado, it will hook a right turn, usually most of the time. So again, this is the area where we're watching here of a possible tornado, right in this zone in here, due west of the downtown Fayetteville area. And this is going to pass north of Park City. So if you're in Park City and Flintville, this is not for you. Kirkland, this is not for you. This is staying to your north. But again, if you're in Mulberry, Belleville, you need to be taking your tornado precautions as well, because this is heading your way. And this will be in your area probably within about 10 to 20 minutes or so. Now, there is a little bit here in the middle. You might see this right here. It looks a little funky right here. I think this is the radar beam right in here. It's kind of interfering a little bit, so it makes the storm look a little lopsided up here on this north end. But regardless, there's definitely some heavy rain and perhaps some small hail ongoing up in here along and north of 64, and south of 64 is where the possible tornado is. So you can kind of pretty much put a dividing line here along Highway 64 here, and south would be the main area for the tornado, and north would be mainly for the wind and rain and hail portion. So that's going to be the zone right here where we have this hook echo. And let me check and see if we've got any new indications of tornadic debris. Nothing there at the moment, so that's good. Warning expires here in about 18 minutes. So warning here goes in effect until 3 o'clock. So the warning expires in about 18 minutes. From now, it's 2:41, about to be 2:42. So just a heads up there. Now, I do want to give another little heads up here for those of you up in Lynchburg. The rest of Lynchburg that's not in this tornado warning, this storm is heading your way if it does hold together. Now, it's also possible that if this strengthens, it may hook more to the right and be more of a Thames Ford Lake and Winchester issue if this were to turn more right. So there's two different possibilities here. This could occlude and weaken and move up more towards Lynchburg. Or the second scenario, it strengthens, possibly puts down a tornado, and moves out here towards Winchester and Deckard. So there's two different possibilities here. So it'll either occlude and move more north and east, or it will hook right and strengthen. So there's two different scenarios here that we got to watch out for. That's what I'm saying. If you're in Moore and Franklin counties, you cannot let your guard down here, because this could potentially impact your area. And there's really nothing. I look on radar here. There is nothing to the south or north or east that's blocking this. So there's no inflow being blocked or anything like that. So it's got its own environment here that we have to keep an eye on there, because these storms could, as I said earlier, could be long trackers today. Maybe not long track tornadoes, but long track supercell thunderstorms. Now, there's also a little storm here. It looks like it's trying to develop here on the southern end of Lookout Mountain on the Georgia side, over here south of Trenton and south of Cloudland Canyon. But so far, that cell does not exhibit any spin or anything severe. It's just a quick little downpour that's heading out here towards Chickamauga and Rock Spring. So you may get a downpour out of this, but so far this storm has struggled to break through the cap and become a full-base thunderstorm, but a full-blown thunderstorm, I should say. So far that's looking weak, so that's some good news there right along the 27 corridor there in Walker County. And again, we got these other severe storms that are lining up out to the west. And remember, and look at all these warnings now popping up out here to the west. This is going to be our main event tonight. So real quick here, because I gotta get back to the tornado warning. I'll draw this area right here where the main event's going to be. It's going to be right back in here. All of this in here is heading our way. So this is going to be here probably after 6 o'clock or so. Especially all this back in here along the Mississippi River. So we got multiple storms with hail and damaging winds. Tornadoes may spawn out of these too. Same with this one near Corinth, Mississippi. This is all moving to the east here. Probably it looks like here at least speed I've seen is about 40 miles an hour. So again, let's get back to this tornado warning here. And let me take this off. And we'll go back to this tornado warning cell because this is the number one most importance. Again, here's a new update here from the NWS in Huntsville here on this tornado warning. As you see, they've just made a change to that polygon. It says a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located near Fayetteville, moving east at 30 miles an hour. Hazards of tornado, it's radar indicated. This dangerous storm will be near Fayetteville around 2:50 p.m. So about 5 minutes. This is going to be in downtown Fayetteville, be in your safe place. Other locations that are in the path of this tornadic storm include Mulberry, Chestnut Ridge, Howell, Belleville, Harms, Mimosa, and Kelso. So again, here's some great tips down in here. If you have a basement, move to it or an interior room on the lowest floor of a sturdy building. Avoid windows. If you're outdoors in a mobile home or in a vehicle, move to the closest substantial shelter and protect yourself from flying debris. So they have taken the far western end of Lincoln out of this warning, but they still have the northern half of the county and a very small sliver here of the northwestern end of Moore County in this tornado warning. And again, this is where you find the possible tornado here, where you see this hook. And it did look a little stronger there on that last scan. And, well, unfortunately, as I said, it's continuing to try to wrap up here. So we may be looking at possible tornado genesis here on the west side of Fayetteville here. I mean, it's trying its darnest here to wrap up. So this is definitely a serious situation here for those of you on the north side of Fayetteville and also towards Mulberry. If you're in Mulberry, you need to be taking cover. This is going to pretty much track right across 431, 231, as well as 64, and go right up Highway 50 here unless it hooks to a far right. But it's going to pretty much parallel that road. That's what I'm saying. If you're in Mulberry, you need to be taking cover. That's where there could be a possible tornado, where you see this hook echo right here where it wraps around. You got all the rain that wraps around in here and some dry air here from the south moving in. So where it all comes together right here is where you got that possible tornado. So right along 273, north and east of State Route 274. There's Elmwood Terrace. There's Elk Mill Village, Lincoln Medical Center. This is going to pass just north of the medical center. It's going to pass north of a Fayetteville High School, which sits about right here. So if there's anybody at that school right now or anything, they need to be in the hallways, away from windows and in the center part of that center part of that school until this passes. And this is going to cross here again, 431. Let's get down actually see some other streets here. So right over Dickey Cemetery, Abel Road. That would be Kidd Road, Askins Lane, Craig's Road. So this is going to also move out here towards Benberry Road. There's also a gas station out here being shown too. So also around Mays Chapel Church. And out here towards Pulaski Highway, there's the Chevron that's out there. Whitaker Cemetery, Washington Street. Looks like there's a radio station right there, WEKR FM. And then up here towards Boones Hill Road. So this is heading up towards the Boones Hill community just south of there. So again, that's some streets there that are in the path of that. And here's the outer bypass here that goes right around downtown. And this is going to pass due north of there as it moves out to the north side of Fayetteville. Now again, this is not going to affect, I want to stress this point, this is not going to affect Kirkland. This is not going to affect Park City or Elora or Flintville. And really, to be honest, unless it hooks far right, it's probably not going to affect Kelso. But Kelso's still in this polygon, so if you're in Kelso, you need to be in your tornado safe place because this is still heading your way. And again, rotation continues, unfortunately, to slowly strengthening here. I mean, this hook's becoming more wrapped around here. When you see it starting to wrap around like that, that tells you right there that the rotation is increasing in the thunderstorm. Now, the hail doesn't look all that impressive on the north end, so that's at least a good thing on the hail end, but you may get some peas and marbles up in here towards Belleville and up towards Boonville and Mulberry. But again, if this tornado moves kind of east-northeast, this tornado will threaten Mulberry. Again, we don't have confirmation right now of a tornado on the ground, but I'm telling you, we're getting pretty close, I think, to having one touch down here just based off the velocity signature. And here's a new scan that just came in. And again, it's still showing that indication. Still fairly broad, but a little tighter, a little brighter on the wind here of a possible tornado. So it's basically right over where 273 and 64 meet, right out here where those streets I just named. And it's moving directly to the east-northeast. And let me make sure I'm saying that right. So I'm going to put this on a loop here real quick. Yep, it's actually, as I said, it's moving to the right here. So this is actually moving directly east towards Elk Mill Village, the Creason community. Let's get some other roads in here. Shelbyville Highway, Old Mulberry Road. A lot of homes in this area too. Central Boulevard, this is on the north side of Fayetteville. 2nd Avenue, 3rd Avenue, Skyline Drive, 5th Avenue, 4th Avenue, Scenic Drive. Morningside Road, Line Drive, Orchard Drive, Hatcher Drive, Northview Avenue, Swanson Boulevard. This is the area where, and also the Fayetteville Golf and Country Club, that's where Doppler radar is showing the red and green meeting, which indicates possible rotation. And as I said earlier, this is the only storm on the map in our coverage area right now. It's on the far western end, so it's got a long way to go. I mean, this hopefully it weakens before then, but it's got a long ways to go here. So here's the reflectivity, and I'm actually going to do an updated storm track here right now. So I'm going to switch over here to Max 2 and give a quick little track. Again, let me make sure that speed's right. So they're saying it's moving northeast at, let me get the right movement here, 30. So it's moving east at 30. In fact, I'm going to be precautious here and go ahead and put Winchester and Deckard in the track just to give you an early heads up here. So that's 30 miles an hour. Mimosa at 301, so basically downtown Fayetteville right now. 307 in Mulberry, Locksmill at 308, Champ at 315, Lexi Crossroads 326, Winchester Springs 339, Belvedere 337, Estill Springs, if it gets that far north and holds together at 344 for Estill Springs. Winchester at 346, so roughly around 3:30 to 4 o'clock. If this does hold together, this will impact the northern end of Franklin County. So get ready there at 346. Deckard around 350. Again, as I said, it's got a long way to go to get there, but if it holds together, that is exactly where this thunderstorm is going. And it could produce a brief tornado. Now, at this moment, it doesn't look like it's going to produce one of those big tornadoes, but it would be in that brief spin-up variety just based off the signature I've seen. So, again, one could touch down at any time. So, again, right where all this broad red and green is where you have the possible tornado. Let me check CC here and make sure we don't have anything debris-wise. Yeah, all I'm seeing here is an inflow notch, nothing there. So we're still seeing nothing but just the inflow notch. So at least we're not getting any formal debris at the moment. But again, this is where there could be a tornado east of Egan, south of Howell, and it's already crossed 64. So if there's a possible tornado, it's actually east and northeast of 64 now. So this has cleared this section of 64. But I would still, if anybody's trying to travel west towards Pulaski, I would actually hold off for about 5 more minutes and let this get east of 64. But if you're in Fayetteville, you need to be hunkered down in your safe place for at least the next 10 to 20 minutes until this passes. And then when this passes, then you can go out. But wait for about 10 to 20 minutes, and then you can get out once this warning expires here and doesn't get extended. So I've not heard yet if this warning is going to be extended. Not really sure if it will be. But if it does get extended, we'll stay on this. But if it does weaken and we lose the tornado warning, then I'll get off here. But at the moment here, we're going to stay on here until at least this expires. And if it does get reissued, we'll stay on with it. Now, I don't have a new velocity scan update yet on this, but the reflectivity update. And notice this little hole right here and what this might be. Now, it's possible this could end up being a kind of a fluke run right here, but at the same time, what this might be here, right around the Fayetteville Golf and Country Club, this could actually be what we call a bounded weak echo region. So, and that's usually a classic indicator also of a tornado, where you have this little area where there's not as much rain as in the surrounding area, and it kind of closes in on itself. So if there's a tornado, it would actually be right in this area where you see the bright yellow here that's surrounded by the pink and red, where there's not as much rain in the middle. That's where your tornado would be. So it's bearing down right now on 431, and then after that it's going to bear down on 231 here north of downtown Fayetteville, probably by about 2 to 3 miles. So again, stay in your safe place down there towards the medical center and all that in downtown Fayetteville, but for about, again, another 10 to 20 minutes. But it does appear that the main tornadic part of this storm is going to pull more north of there, as opposed to moving due east into that area. So this is going to pass just north of there. Hail size also is bumped up a little bit on this north storm. I'm actually going to check and see what that looks like real quick. Again, not the strongest indication of hail in the world here, but there is a little bit of indication here. There could be some small hail up here towards Howell and Mimosa and up towards the Belleville area with this thunderstorm on the north side of the possible tornado. So again, the possible tornado is going to be on the southern flank, but on the northern flank of the storm, you're going to actually have a little bit of hail with that, and that's going to move up here towards Lynchburg. So it's, as I said, it's not damaging, but there could be some small hailstones mixed in with this heavy rain as it moves right up Highway 50 towards the Lynchburg area here within the next 30 minutes. So it's going to be there pretty soon. So again, let me see if we have a new update here on the winds here. And right in that area, as I said, where that little donut hole was right there, you see right here a little bit of weak rotation here, crossing 431 right now. Even if you don't get a tornado out of this, I forgot to mention this, even if you don't get a tornado out of this, you're going to get some very strong winds here. So now we have a new tornado warning on this storm. So new tornado warning has just been issued. You see the flashing red on here. This does include part of Lincoln, Moore, and Franklin counties. So let me get you the information on that here real quick. It says a severe thunderstorm that's capable of producing a tornado was located over Fayetteville, moving east at 30 miles an hour. And this warning goes in effect for the next hour. Actually, next 50 minutes. So this is going to go in effect until 3:45. This is for Moore County. So this is for all of Moore County, including Lynchburg, northeastern Lincoln County, and the northwestern end of Franklin County until 3:45. And here are the locations that are in the path. So here's some time frames for you. Timms Ford Lake around 3:20. So Timms Ford Lake around 3:20. And the city of Winchester around 3:30. So if you're in Winchester and Deckard, you're looking at around 3:30 for this possible tornado. In addition to those areas, here are the other locations in the path. Lexi Crossroads, Mulberry, Harmony, Belleville, Hurdlow, Lois, Mimosa, Marble Hill, and Belvedere. If you're in Belvedere, you need to be seeking shelter. You are in the path of a possible tornado. Now, it does appear this rotation may pull north, but if it hooks right, it'll threaten. But again, as long as you're in the tornado warning polygon, you need to stay sheltered here for the next few minutes. So again, there's the area of rotation here on the northeast side of the city of Fayetteville. I know it's not showing up there. There it is. On the northeast side of Fayetteville there, moving due east. And again, the lightning is upticked again. So we're seeing another cycle. We're seeing this thing reorganize again. So if you know somebody out in Franklin County, specifically Winchester and West, tag them, share this to them, call them, whatever you got to do to make sure that they are getting into cover here, because they now have a tornado warning in effect until 3:45 p.m. Central Time. That's 4:45 p.m. Eastern Time. Again, the hail size also has jumped up a little bit on this north end as well. I haven't seen what this is also looking like on the hail size, but again, right now the main importance here is this possible tornado here, where you see this red and green right here at a very close distance here. The tornado will hide right here, west of Highway 50 and north of Highway 64. So let me see what that new update just showed. Yeah, there we go. So red and green meeting against each other. Now, the good thing here is this is actually broadened out a little bit too. So again, we're seeing, again, as I said, we're seeing a cycling here of this. So this is moving due east here along and north of 64. Definitely some pretty strong winds for sure. Let's see what these winds actually look like here. Let's see, 45. Yeah, roughly 40 to 50. So technically non-severe, but you're going to get some very strong winds on the southern flank of this hook echo here as it moves due east here across Highway 50 and moving towards Moore County and also the western end of Franklin County. So make sure you're staying in your shelters in those areas until this expires. So let me zoom out here. In this area in yellow that you see on this map, the area in yellow you see, that's the tornado watch that goes into effect until 10 p.m. So let me get you the full scope here, and this is the area that has the possibility of seeing a tornado. So everybody in that red, even on the eastern edge of that red, I know Estill Springs is technically not in. I know Tullahoma's technically not in. And I'll be honest with you, though, I think this is going to stay south of Tullahoma. So Tullahoma, I would not worry about this storm. This is going to stay south of you. But if you are on the west side of Winchester, so west of the square, out towards the lake, so everybody along Timms Ford Lake needs to be sheltered here because this is moving due east in that direction. I'll get you a updated storm track here in just a minute on that. But again, this is the new tornado warning that goes into effect until 3:45, and it's replacing this warning that's just about to expire here for Lincoln County. So the other tornado warning for Lincoln County will expire in 1 minute. So areas west of Fayetteville will be in the all clear here in just a minute. But east of Fayetteville, you need to stay sheltered here in Lynchburg and down towards Belvedere, west side of Winchester, Winchester Springs, the Timms Ford Lake, and I'll even go as far east as Estill Springs to make sure you're sheltered too, because this could produce a tornado really at any time. So this is going to be the area where if there is a tornado, that's going to be where it will be. So make sure you are taking cover in those areas. Now let me check velocity here real fast and see if we got any new. Nothing there. And thankfully nothing on the other side too. So again, this is definitely a pretty strong supercell. And now we also have another cell I'm noticing here that's forming here due south of the Huntland area. That could also be trying to turn strong to severe. So we got to watch this one. Again, every little cell that develops today, we got to really keep an eye on them because they can all spin. They can all rotate here. Right now, it's an elongated, elevated storm here. But if you're in the Huntland area, keep an eye on this because you may get some pea-sized hail. You may get a pretty quick downpour out of this as it moves to the east. Let me get a direction on that real quick. Yeah, that's actually heading almost northeast. So that's going to take it up here towards Roe Gap Road and the other areas involved there. So right here along Roe Gap, that's where this thunderstorm's going. But the main area of concern right now is this right here. So downtown Fayetteville, you're pretty much all clear. This is east of you now. This is now exclusively a Mulberry issue. So if you're in the Mulberry area, you need to be taking cover right now. So those areas need to be in your shelters here. So Gaddistown, Champ, Locks Mill, Douglas, Kelso, you're close enough. I guess you just need to stay sheltered there anyways because you're kind of on the edge of this. Smithland, Liberty Hill, Hurdlow, Lexi Crossroads, Marble Hill. There's Lynchburg, Bakertown, Beach Hill, Broadview, Winchester Springs, Pleasant Grove, Brownington, Ridgeville, Pleasant Hill, Turkey Creek, Center Grove, Lakeside Estates, Dripping Springs Subdivision, Kissling Crossing, that's on the southwest side of Winchester there, Walnut Grove, and also Belvedere. So if you're in Belvedere, take cover, even though it does appear that this storm will probably pull to your north, but you're close enough to be considered in the path of this too. Now, here's the new update here on the velocity scan. Again, this is still a fairly broad rotation, but again, there's enough evidence in here. We have this red and green meaning where there could be a small tornado mixed in. Right here on the south side of Mulberry, and it's moving due east here towards Highway 50, crossing Highway 50 towards Highway of 121, 476 out here in the western end of Franklin County. So there's Timms Ford Lake right now. If you know anybody that happens to be on the lake right now, they need to get off the lake because again, we don't need anybody being out there. So if you know anybody that's traveling through these areas, they need to pull off either near a ditch or somewhere that's like a convenience store or some form of sturdy structure and wait this out for about at least a good 20 to 30 minutes at minimum until this storm can pass. Because we don't really need anybody out there on the roads. Again, do not travel along 64 between Belvedere and Winchester here until this storm passes. So this is the no travel advisory here for those of you along 64 north of Huntland here. So no travel between Belvedere and Winchester because the tornado warning polygon exists in this area. Also no travel along Highway 50 between Fayetteville and Lynchburg. And also between Winchester and Lynchburg, no travel in this area too. Let's make sure everybody's off the roads and they're all in a good, safe place inside, away from windows. Again, right where this red and green meets here, and I'll actually circle it for you and show you where that possible tornado is. It's right in this area here, and that's the direction it's moving. So I've circled the area of rotation, and I'm giving you a general direction here on where that's going. So that's going to be the area where if there is a tornado, that's where it will be. And again, this will pass south of Belleville, south of Booneville, north of Flintville. So this is not going to impact Flintville or Huntland. This is where the track of it will go. So let me put out an updated track here real quick. So that way we get an indication here for when this is going to be in the Winchester area. Get a quick update. This is moving east again at 30. We'll track it from the edge of the hook here. And we'll track it pretty much due east. And we'll take it out to just about west of Swanee here on the track. This will be in Mulberry at 307, so pretty much right now you need to be in your safe place there. Locks Mill at 309, Gattistown 313, so Lynchburg within the next 10 minutes. Brownington, there at 329. Winchester Springs, 338. Kissling Crossing there in Winchester at 343. Estill Springs, 344 if it gets that far north. Winchester, downtown, 345. So around the square, you're looking at probably about 345 there. So roughly between 3:30 and 4 o'clock there in downtown Winchester, as well as Deckard. Deckard at 349. Asia Community at 348. Cowan. Now, if this holds together, this could impact Cowan by 3:56. So that means Swanee. If you're in Swanee, you're looking at around 4 o'clock. So if this holds together, this will impact Swanee around 4 o'clock Central Time, 5 o'clock Eastern Time. So heads up out here. While you don't have a warning out there at the moment, if this storm holds together, that's where it's going. It's heading due east. And this could also potentially impact Mott Eagle. This could also impact Tracy City. This could also impact near Foster Falls and possibly Whitwell if it holds together. So this is, again, this storm here could potentially, this could be a long tracker. At least as the thunderstorm goes. Maybe not the tornado, but at least the thunderstorm could go a very long way. I mean, these storms today are going to be capable of tracking pretty long distances. So you just got to keep that in mind here, that when you see a tornado-warned storm like this, it's all by itself. It's going to have the capability of going for a pretty long distance. So just a heads up there that if you do see one of these kind of storms, I would kind of expect to see a tornado warning at least nearby, or a severe thunderstorm warning something, because these storms are going to be long tracked today, especially the supercells. Here's the area of rotation now. Here's a new update here. It's approaching Gattistown. So here's the Moore County line. So let's actually get down here quickly in the street level here, show you where this is at. So that's Lloyd Chapel Road. Move here towards Cooper Branch Road. It's heading out here towards, let's see what that says, Kelso Mulberry Road. And this is also heading down, let me get the other locations here. Don't know why it's not, this one's not popping up on here, but there we go. There's Providence Road. So that's going to be the area where if there's a tornado, that's where it'll be. Here's Beach Hill. Take cover in Beach Hill. This is heading your way. This is going to pass likely south of the distillery, so this is not going to impact the Jack Daniels distillery there in Lynchburg, so this will stay south of there. So it's not going to hit downtown, but again, as a course of least regret, you still want to take it serious and take cover. Now, there's also another tornado warning that if you have friends and relatives up here towards Nashville and Franklin, they may want to be aware of this one, because there could be another possible tornado here to the west, and it may head up that way if it holds together. So just a heads up there. I know it looks a little weak looking, but again, it could hold together and get up there. So heads up in those areas. And again, we got more storms here forming out towards the Mississippi River, and those will head our way over the next several hours. Again, where you see this hook right here, again, the storm does look a little weak. Don't get me wrong. So it does look a little weak, and that's a good sign. But again, there's still enough evidence here where you have this little notch where the tornado will be, which will be right in this area here where the hand is spinning right there. And that's going to move east from there, so you follow the line. There's the Moore County line with Lincoln County. There's the Moore County line with Franklin. And there's Broadview. And there's Timms Ford as well. That's going to be the trajectory of this storm. Now, as long as it doesn't curve a hard right, this will actually more than likely stay just north of downtown Winchester and pass up here right here right along the northern end of the lake. So pretty close up here where the Walmart and all that is on the north side of a Deckard up here. It's probably going to go towards that area if that holds together. So somewhere in that area, right along Philip Fulmer Parkway there on the north side of Winchester, that's going to be the area where this tornado could cross if it holds together. And again, that's going to be about 20 30 minutes or so down the road. So it's going to take its time getting there. But again, you got your advance warning here in the northwestern half of Franklin County. So again, if you're in Huntland, you're not involved in this. If you're in Suwanee or Cowan, you're not involved in the warning. And most of Winchester and Estill Springs are not involved in the warning, but those two cities I just named are on the edge of this. So you are close enough to be considered in the danger zone where there could be a possible tornado within the next 30 to 40 minutes or so. So this is going to be the area it goes in. And on the north side of this storm, as it heads up towards Lynchburg, you're probably going to get some very heavy rain. And you definitely get heavy rain. You might get some small hail as well. That could be anywhere from pea to marble size. So just a heads up there in those areas. Now, let me read off this morning, make sure we have a new update or anything. And no. So I just wanted to see if we had a new update there real quick. Let's see if we got a new velocity scan or anything. Yeah, and thankfully, again, looks like it actually trended back down again, so that's good. Heading up into the Gaddistown area, a little area of weak rotation here, moving right overhead. And this is passing to the east of Mulberry and Locks Mill, but I would give it about 5 to 10 more minutes there before coming out of your shelters. And if you're watching from Fayetteville, you're all clear. This is to your east now. So everybody in the city of Fayetteville and also in Petersburg, you can get out of your shelters. This is east of you now. This is easily a good 5 to 10 miles east of you now. So nothing to worry about there anymore. You don't have a tornado concern in that part of Lincoln County anymore. And the only part of that county that has a tornado concern will be Gaddisstown and east of Mulberry. Because this is about to be a Moore County issue, and then it's going to be a Franklin County issue if it holds together. So everybody in this southern half, especially of Moore County, needs to be taking cover right now. So let's see if we got a new scan in here. Again, you still got the hook on that, and that's the direction it's moving due east. Again, Tullahoma, this is not going to impact you. This is staying to your south. This is also not going to impact Arnold Air Force Base. This is not going to impact. It looks like at least the rotation itself probably will not impact Estill Springs, but if this does occlude and move a little more northeast, it might get over there. So areas along 41A here. This would be Deckard Boulevard there in Deckard, and then Dinah Shore Boulevard in Winchester. You're not quite in this warning yet, but you're close enough to be considered the possible target area for a possible tornado here, considering the trajectory of this thunderstorm. And again, I want to say this is the only real thunderstorm threat we have out there right now. It's a very isolated supercell compared to everything else. I mean, it's quiet everywhere else at this moment in our area. Now, we got this other storm that I was monitoring earlier here that was south of Huntland, but thankfully that has weakened quite a bit over the last few minutes. Let me show you what that looked like. At one point, it actually was producing a little bit of hail there, but that has came down significantly. So that storm has really weakened over the last little minute. So again, I want to give a quick heads up here. In the southern end of Grundy County and northwestern Marion County, you might have a tornado. You may get a tornado warning with this, or at least a severe thunderstorm warning if this storm holds together. And it'll probably be over there. If I had to guess a good time frame, likely between 4 and 5 o'clock. So based on the speed of this storm, probably between 4 and 5 o'clock is when this storm will likely enter the southern end of Grundy County and the northern end of Marion County, if it holds together, and that's a big if. Remember, direction could change, speed can change, intensity could change. That's why I don't want to hang my hat too much on that, but I just want to give that extra heads up so that way no one's caught off guard, because this could be a long-track supercell that could go for a pretty good distance. That's going to fight some terrain here. So once this gets really out of Winchester here, this is going to fight that higher terrain. So there's a chance it may not make it up there fully because the terrain may tear it up. But it could also enhance it some too. So there's some pros and cons to elevation change. So you got to really be prepared for any scenario here. So again, the rotation's practically crossing the Lincoln and Moore County line basically right now. So yeah, it's crossing the county line right now. So right in here is where the possible tornado is. So let me circle that area here real quick and put a directional movement there. And that's going to be where it's going. Let me correct that. It's going to be moving something like this. So the white line center line here brings the hook all the way out here through the lake into the north side of Winchester and out here towards Deckard. So everybody around the Nissan plant, heads up. This is heading your way. If it holds together, this will impact you. Probably within the next, I said, 30 minutes or so. And Deckard heads up there, and I'll even say, just in case this were to try to include and move north, this might be an issue for Estill Springs as well. So I'm really going to highlight Winchester, Deckard, and Estill here because those are the three cities here that really need to be on alert here. And I'll even highlight Timms Ford right here. So the main areas of concern are in these areas that I circled. So if you're in those areas I just circled there on the map, you need to be thinking about your tornado shelters and go into those and ride this out for at least the next 30 to 40 minutes until this thunderstorm passes you. So again, that's going to be the area where there could be a possible tornado. Now I'm looking on the debris signature here behind the scenes. So far, again, I've not seen anything there, thankfully. In this kind of situation, it'll actually be pretty difficult to see considering the state of the hook echo. I mean, the hook would have to really wrap around to see it, so it's going to be very hard to see it. So don't go looking for funnels or anything like that. Just make sure you're staying sheltered here in those areas until this passes. And again, I don't see any other thunderstorms developing to the south of this that could stop this thing's inflow. So if it continues to kind of ride that southern end of the boundary that's across that area, it will probably continue to at least weekly rotate as it moves eventually up the Cumberland Plateau and here towards I-24. So again, those areas need to be on alert here next up. But again, the immediate danger area are the areas around Timms Ford Lake. We'll just sum it up that way. All areas around Timms Ford Lake need to be heading into their tornado shelters at this time and ride this out through at least 3:45. And that's when the warning goes into effect here. And hopefully by then, might get lucky and this thing weakens to where the point it does not get reissued. But I really don't want to bank on that because a lot can change with it. Again, that hook has not really changed all that much, so it's still holding its weak rotation. So nothing much has changed there on that new scan. So again, heads up in those areas. You do have a possible tornado moving into those areas. Again, I've circled the main areas that need to be taking cover right now. So again, those areas I just circled are Timms Ford Lake, Estill Springs, Deckard, and Winchester. Belvedere, I believe this is going to pass north of you. So I doubt you're going to have an issue down there. So if you're in Belvedere, this is going to stay to your north. I mean, stay sheltered because you're in the polygon, but I do have confidence that this is going to pass to your north, considering this is moving due east as opposed to southeast. So again, that's going to be the area of concern right now where I've drawn out those areas. So again, lowest level near the center, away from windows. If you got a basement, that's great. If you don't, interior room, closet, bathroom, something that's on the lowest level will work. If you're on a second or third level house or apartment, you get down on the lowest level. You don't stay up at the top. You get down on the lowest level. If you need to make friends with somebody that's at the bottom in an apartment complex, please do so because this is this kind of situation here when tornado warned storms start spinning up real quick. You cannot be on the second level or anything above the first level of anything. You got to be on the lowest level and away from windows in this kind of situation. So just giving some friendly advice here that you just gotta take this seriously here until this passes. So again, those areas that I just circled need to be taken covered. This is also crossing over Highway 50, so this is getting ready to cross over Highway 50 yet again here, this time on the southeast flank. So this is passing south and east of downtown Lynchburg. So again, the distillery and all that, you're fine around there, but areas down closer to the Franklin County line, down towards the Beach Hill community, you need to be seeking shelter right now in that area. So let me update this considering the radar just moved. I got to remove this. But here's the area of circulation. It's now exclusively in Moore County. So it's north of Herdlow. It's near Marble Hill. north of Liberty Hill. So Liberty Hill, this is north of you. Let me see if we got a new update on the wind. Yeah, looks like it's tightening up again right here. So very strong indication of damaging wind for sure. But right here in the middle where this red and green meet, there is a possible tornado in that cell. And it's moving due east here, so it's getting ready to cross Highway 50 yet again. So here's the Highway 50 that runs up here to the west from Fayetteville to Lynchburg. Here's the other that continues south right around the Franklin-Moore County line. So it's basically passing halfway between Lynchburg and Belvedere. So crossing Highway 50 between Lynchburg and Belvedere, heading up towards State Route 476 and the Broadview and Timms Ford Lake areas. So that's going to be the zone where the possible tornado is, right here where this red meets the green. I'll circle that here so you can see where that is. It's right in this area here. And it's moving like this. And they've just shortened that tornado warning, so let me make sure that we have that. So let me make sure we have a new, see if we got a new update there real quick. Let's see here what they got. It says here, a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located near Lynchburg, and it's moving east at 30 miles an hour. Hazard is a tornado and quarter-size hail. It's radar indicated. This dangerous storm will be near the following communities at these times. So here's some times of arrival for you here. Winchester around 3:35. Timms Ford Lake around 3:25. So downtown Winchester's only got about 15 minutes to take cover here, but don't wait until that time. Just go ahead and seek shelter immediately if you haven't. Timms Ford Lake, you're pretty much out of time. You only got like 5 minutes until this thing approaches you. Again, Tullahoma, this is not an issue for you. This is staying south of you by pretty good bits. And this is also staying south of Lynchburg, at least downtown Lynchburg, not the southern end of the city and county, but downtown will be fine. You can come out of your shelters there. I'm going to give you an all clear to account for that. But again, this is a very dangerous storm that could produce a tornado at any time. So take cover in those areas. So again, these are the highlighted spots. So right around Timms Ford, Broadview. Here's downtown Lynchburg to the north and west. Let's actually get down here and show some other streets here. This is going to be passing over a Short Creek Road. Here's State Route 50. There's the Bean Cemetery. Don't see a road there. That's the county line. There's the Beach Hill Church, Beach Hill Cemetery, Little Bean Hollow Road, Tanyard Hill Road, Evans Road, Beach Hill Drive. This is also passing near Dunn Hollow Road. Galloway Lane is in the path of this. Been around Marble Hill Road, Short Creek Road. Down here, there's the Elk River. So this is in the Elk River Valley. And then here's where it goes out into the lake right here. So here's the state park. So this possible tornado is bearing down on the Timms Ford Lake area. So this is where it's going to be. So here's Timms Ford right here, and here's where the possible tornado is in the red and green back here. And I'll put on reflectivity so you can see that just a little bit better on there because you can see the hook on it. And there it is. So the tornado is hiding right here. Again, there's no confirmation. I want to stress this. There's no formal confirmation of one on the ground. It's just that Doppler radar is indicating the possibility of one touching down. And this is going to be the area it goes in, approximately. Again, it could either go on the north side of this line or even the south side. So it's going to vary a little bit. That's what I'm saying. Even though you're technically not in the warning in Winchester and Deckard, it's still just best to go ahead and take cover because this is heading your way. And this is especially heading towards Deckard's way. Probably more Deckard than Winchester, but at least downtown areas are concerned. But right in here, that's where it's going to follow. That line right there, at least the north side of that line. So, white line, center line right there, heading up towards the Deckard area. So again, I just posted that warning information there about a couple minutes ago on the page as well. I copy and pasted some of the warning text on there just to get it out a little bit quicker in case those that can't view the live. So I did put that on there in case you missed it. So just a little bit of a heads up there. If I paused for a little bit there, there's a reason. I was making sure that got out there real fast. But again, on the north side of this storm, That's where you're going to find the heavy rain hail. Ooh, well, that hook really intensified right there. Now, that's definitely a concerning look. Right here over Marble Hill, you can see where that thing is really hooked around. And so this is not a very big thunderstorm. I mean, size-wise, this is a pretty small storm, but it's definitely strong enough to where there could be a possible tornado in here. I mean, this is a pretty tightly packed hook echo. So I really need you to take this seriously here. In areas from Winchester, Deckard, and West, you really need to take this one seriously because it might pop down a tornado at any minute. I'm not guaranteeing that it will, but I think it could. Yeah, that tightened right there on the velocity. The velocity verified it. So right here, it tightened up. So we could have, as in, we may be seeing tornado genesis with this right now. And that's awfully close to debris. That's not quite a debris signature. That's pretty close. So I said we may be seeing tornado genesis happening here. Right on the western end of Timms Ford Lake. So you got to take this seriously here out here towards Winchester Springs, up here towards the Pleasant Grove area, Eastbrook, Dripping Springs Subdivision, and Broadview. These areas here in the western end of the county, you got to take this one seriously because I think a tornado may develop out of this at any minute. Because this is moving off to the east at about 30 miles an hour. So it's having time to get used to the terrain changes and all that stuff. So there's a chance that if this thing gets up in here, it may produce a tornado. Now, again, I want to remind people that just tuned in also, we have a tornado watch in effect until 10 o'clock. That goes for pretty much everybody in our coverage area except out here to the east. So if you're in Dayton and Athens, Decatur, Cleveland, Ocoee, Dalton, Blue Ridge, Calhoun, Chatsworth, you're not in the watch. But again, I would not be surprised here that we may get this watch extended with time, especially later this evening as these storms out here to the west start organizing. There's also a tornado warning for Jackson, Tennessee right now. So if you know anybody out that way, north and east of Memphis, make sure they're sheltering. And we also have another little thunderstorm to note here I want to get on real quick here because this could this could strengthen pretty quickly here. So Paint Rock and Woodville and Jackson County, Alabama, you got a heavy downpour moving in. And as we've seen earlier, with that supercell to the north, it could easily intensify very quickly and start rotating. So we got to watch this one carefully. This could be the next one. It's moving up here towards Pleasant Groves and possibly Scottsboro and Skyline. So while there's not an immediate threat, actually that weakened a little bit, thankfully, but while there's not an immediate threat, we still got to watch this in case this thing were to break through the cap and decide to spin. Again, any storms that develop today could have the potential of spinning. They're going to have that potential because of the low level winds. And again, that rotation's continuing. I mean, this is a very wrapped up storm here. I mean, this is probably going to put down a tornado at any minute. Based off that hook you see right here, I've seen these things wrap up before. I've watched these form behind the scenes, from the Great Plains and such. I've seen these wrap up before, even when they don't look like insanely impressive. So you got to take my word here and take cover here on the western end of Franklin County right now because this could pop down one at any time. So Broadview, Winchester Springs, all areas up in here to the north and west of the square there and downtown Winchester, up in here towards the Walmart out here in Deckard. You need to take this one seriously and take cover. No formal tornado warning for the rest of Franklin County just yet, but with the way this thing is strengthening, there's a good chance this thing's they're probably going to be I would bet on a new one being issued here pretty soon because this is continuing to tighten up. I mean, these reds and greens are the tightest they've been in this supercell ever since it was in Lauderdale County, Alabama earlier. And there was a tornado produced out of it. So that's what I'm saying. You gotta take this one seriously and take your tornado precautions if you're in Winchester and Deckard. This is a very serious situation here in these areas. Again, no confirmation yet, and let me double check the debris detection here. And as I said, we're getting pretty close here. So right in this area, right over the Timms Ford Lake Park, and this is moving right overhead. So this is moving right over Timms Ford Lake, right over the heart of the lake right now, and it's moving due east. So again, Estill Springs. I know this is probably going to pass just a little south of you, but if you're in Estill Springs, I would still take cover because this is serious enough to where if it were to occlude, it will head up your way. Again, Winchester stays sheltered, even though this is it looks like it's going to pass just north of you. You're close enough still to be considered in the possibility of where this could touch down. So let me get this off here, the watch thing. So that's the area where it's wrapped up. So right in here is where the possible tornado is. East of Beach Hill, north and west of Broadview. Let's actually get down here a little bit in the street level here. So there's the Lost Creek Overlook, wild bird viewing. The Timms Ford Marina is in the path of this, so right around the marina and the campground and all that that's there. Mansford Road, I should say. Let's see, Marble Plains Cemetery, the Lost Creek Campsite is in the path of this. Lakeview Restaurant, Cabin 1, so all the cabins that are down there need to be sheltered. Let's see who else. Bluff Drive, Timber Knoll Circle, a lot of homes out in here too. Fanning Cemetery. Let's make sure I'm not missing anybody else. Awalt Drive, you're in the path of this. There's State Route 476. And let's cross the lake here and go over here to the east. There's Old Tullahoma Road, that's State Route 130. There's the Myers Community, so that's Murray Lake Estates. There's Bible Crossing Road. So the tornado back in here will cross basically right down Bible Crossing Road, and that's going to take it right into Deckard. On this current track, it's going to take this thing right into Deckard. So again, where you see this hook here, that's a possible tornado. It's moving due east. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put a storm track on this and give you the heads up here, especially on the eastern end of Franklin County. Let me make sure I have the right speed on that. See if they're saying it's still moving east at 30. See if it's still saying that. And yep. So it's moving east at 30. So let's track from the area of rotation, and we'll track it all the way out here to Swanee. It's moving east at 30. Winchester Springs, pretty much right now, 338, being your safe place. Downtown Winchester, especially the north side of town, 347. 349, Deckard, so around the Walmart and all that, between about 345 and 350. Green Hall, 357. Alto at 404. Swanee at 407. So again, Swanee, you've got about 20 to 30 minutes here before this heads your way if it holds together. St. Andrews also around 410. Again, that line I drew right there, that's pretty much what we call a little line, center line right here, a white line center line I just drew right there. That's going to take it right up here to the north side of Swanee, through the Deckard area, and it might make an impact towards Mont Eagle down the road. Now, it did look like on that last frame, thankfully, hopefully this is the case. Hopefully this thing came down a little bit. Now, we don't have a new velocity scan just yet, so I'll have to wait final judgment until that. But there's still this hook here that indicates a possible tornado here moving up towards Winchester Springs. Everybody in that area needs to stay sheltered. So around the campground, everything around Timms Ford Lake, you need to be in your safe place. This is also going to head out here towards Bruner Crossing, so right where the Home Depot and all that is. So there's some dealerships up in here. As you get up here into Estill Springs, there's some dealerships up here. This is where the tornado is going to cross next. And I'm going to say possible tornado because I haven't had confirmation. So possible tornado will be crossing out here along 41A, close to where all the dealerships are, where the Home Depot and Walmart and all that is. There's also a middle school, I think that's North Middle School, that sits right up in here. That's going to be where the possible tornado is going to be next. So after it gets through with the lake, that's where it will go next. And then after that, it's a little uncertain, but it could make it all the way out here to the north side of Swanee if it holds together. Again, here's the new velocity update. Nothing much has changed. So again, this is still a very tightly wound-packed supercell storm, at least on the velocity scale. No sign, thankfully, of debris. Now, if you would see a debris signature, it would be more defined. It wouldn't be like this. It'd be a little more defined right here. And plus, the position of the thunderstorm here, unless this thing were to fully wrap around, really fully wrap around, you wouldn't be able to really see it because it'd be kind of stuck in this ground clutter here from the nearby high top radar. So it's going to be very difficult picking that out unless this thing really wraps around. So on the north side of this storm here, as you go up here towards downtown Estill Springs and up towards the drive-in movie theater up there, you're going to have the potential of some hail. Doesn't look like large hail, but you're going to have the potential for some hail as that moves north and east towards the 41A corridor here. And in this road right here is AEDC Road. that runs right up here towards Woods Reservoir and up here towards the Arnold Air Force Base. So it's going to pass south of there, but this is going to pass AEDC Road here on the south side, up here closer to where the Crystal and the Walmart and all that is, on the northwest side of Deckard. That's going to be where this tornado goes. And I will have to say this, I can safely say, unless this thing were to somehow curve a hard right southeast, this is not going to affect the downtown area of Winchester. This is going to stay north of there. But again, if it hooks right, it might threaten. But if it stays on this eastward path, this is going to be more of a Deckard issue. And probably also a south side of Estill Springs issue too. So again, let's see if we got any new warnings here. Again, that watch is updating here, so I don't know what's going on there. But here's another new velocity scan. Again, it's continuing to hold together. A little weaker, but still holding together. So it's crossing over the Popper Cemetery, Fanning Cemetery, out here towards Phillips Drive, Paradise Drive, Pine Bluff Road, McCain Road. Here's State Route 130, Harris Chapel Road. There's the Harris Chapel and Cemetery area. Here's the Elk River. So there's Old Tullahoma Road. And this is going to head up here towards Murray Lake Estates. You're in the path of this next. There's Bible Crossing. Here's all the businesses here on the northwest side of Deckard. So that's North Middle School. There's the Walmart, Save-A-Lot, United Grocery Outlet, Waffle House, up here towards the Home Depot that's up in here. It's not showing up, but it's right in here. That's where the Zaxby's, all that is. So there's some dealerships up in here too. There's the Myers-Smith Airport there on the south side of Estill Springs. Now this is not going to impact at least downtown Estill Springs, but it's going to be close enough to where you still want to take cover there until this passes. And let's see how strong these winds are here real quick. This way, away from the radar site, it's blowing at about 39. And it's blowing away for the other way at 38. So it's a very broad circulation for sure. So it's running at roughly 60 to 70 miles an hour. So even if you don't get a tornado, you're going to have some very strong downburst winds. So those are those straight line winds that could easily be in the 50 to 60 mile an hour range pretty easily. Because you got to remember, so these winds are sampled pretty good far up aloft. So it's going to always be subtracted as you go down towards the surface. So you're probably looking at about 50 to 60 mile an hour gusts, even without a tornado here, on the north side of Deckard here and up here towards the south side of Estill Springs. You might even have a little bit of small hail, and that's in addition to the possible tornado here. Now, we still are running about 10 more minutes on this warning, and thankfully on that last scan, the rotation, at least the hook echo, is kind of closed in on itself and it's occluded, so that's a good sign. That tells me it's weakening. But again, we still have evidence here where there is still enough rotation here to where this thing could still keep going. So I know we haven't had a formal tornado warning issued just yet for areas east of 41A, but I would just go ahead and suggest if you're in Alto and down towards Swanee, I would just go ahead and play it safe and go to my safe place for at least the next 30 minutes, because as long as this storm still has that mesocyclone attached to it up aloft, where the wall cloud and all that is, as long as that thing is still trying to spin, it's still a danger. So again, this tornado warning remains in effect for another 10 more minutes for the northwest end of Franklin County. But if you're in Moore County, you're all clear. So if you're in Lincoln County, you're all clear from this storm. If you're in Lynchburg, Moore County, you're all clear. This is south and east of you. So if you're watching from Lynchburg, you are good to go from this storm. Now, you're not all clear from the severe weather threat. Let's keep that in mind. But you're all clear from this one storm, this one particular storm. Because there's more coming from the west. I mean, there's a lot more coming out here. I mean, look at all the warnings out here towards Memphis. I mean, we got a long way to go here. So, if we end up getting a little break, I hope we do at some point, at least from this storm, we'll kind of enter a little lull period here for a few hours, and then once we get towards sunset and just after sunset, that's when things are going to go downhill again. And this time, it's going to involve more areas. So we'll probably have a whole multitude, at least of some severe thunderstorm warnings here, probably later on this evening. At minimum, severe thunderstorm warnings, perhaps a few tornado warnings. So this is not going to be the last you probably hear from me, unfortunately, on a day like today, because you're probably going to hear more, because we still got a long ways to go here. This is just one storm out of the several that we're going to have later on this evening and into the early part of tonight. So this is, again, areas in Winchester Springs, you got to be sheltered. A possible tornado is moving in right now. So it's getting ready to cross this highway here. That's Highway 130. That's crossing that road right now. Hail size has increased a little bit up here. Probably looking at maybe some dime to nickel size here. So now we have a new tornado warning. So good call on Huntsville's part here. We now have a new tornado warning for those of you in Winchester, Deckard, Estill Springs, and Suwanee. So spread the word. Share with everybody. We have a tornado warning until, let me get you the time on that, 4:30. Until 4:30, let me read you off what's on the print here. It says at 3:37, a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located over Thames Ford Lake or near Winchester. It's moving east at 35 miles an hour. Hazard is tornado and half-dollar size hail. The hail threat will be on the north side of this storm, keep in mind. This dangerous storm will be near the north side of Winchester and also in Estill Springs, Thames Ford Lake, and Deckard around 3:45, and Suwanee around 4 o'clock. That's what I've been saying. So if you're in Suwanee, this will be near your area around 4 o'clock. Other locations impacted by this storm include Alto, St. Andrews, Woods Reservoir, and the Franklin County side of Arnold Air Force Base. But again, if you're in Moore County, you're all clear. This is east of you. But again, if you're anywhere from really the square in Winchester all the way up here to the Coffee County line, you need to be taking your tornado precautions. I know the signature doesn't look the greatest as it was earlier, at least as far as like the greatest as in the strongest circulation. But it could still, again, recycle, and it could wrap back up again. Also, considering that this is 30 minutes out, if you're in Mont Eagle and Pelham and Tracy City, here's your heads up. This is heading your way. If this holds together, this will head your way within the hour. So it's going to be soon. I mean, this is actually, I think, sped up a little bit. So it's going to be there within the next hour if it holds together. So Pelham, down through Mont Eagle, Tracy City, and I'll even say as far north as Colmont, stay alert, because this is the storm that will head your way if it holds together. And you'll at least have heavy rain and gusty wind and possibly some hail. You'll probably at least have that. But there's that chance that you could also get a tornado. So let's get down in here into the specific areas here. So there's the Myers-Smith Airport, crossing pretty close to where the Home Depot is there on the north side of Deckard. And there's the Walmart down here. So this is going to pass near there. So right around North Middle School, the Asia community, Penile Hill, up here towards Capitol Hill, Gum Creek. Here's the Nissan plant right down here. So, excuse me there. This is going to pass near or just north of the Nissan plant. So they need to be in their tornado code down there. So everybody in the Nissan plant needs to be in their tornado code, because this possible tornado is going to pass very close to there. Here's Old Alto Highway right here that runs up alongside 64. This is going to go right up that road. So this is going to pretty much parallel 64 here after it gets across 41A. It's going to parallel 64. And that's going to take it pretty much halfway between Pelham and Mont Eagle and clip the north side of Suwanee. But as long as this thing doesn't curve right, actually, I'll be honest, this actually may stay north of Suwanee. So I'm not giving you the all clear in Suwanee yet, because you're in the warning polygon. As long as you're in that warning polygon, you need to stay sheltered in case this thing somehow decides to hook to the right. But again, where the possible tornado is where you see this hook. Right in here. Again, it's not the strongest circulation in the world, but there is enough evidence, especially when you have this red and green right in here, right over Bruner Crossing there on the south side of Estill Springs, where you could have enough rotation to produce at least a small tornado out of it. Now, thankfully, looking on the correlation coefficient, again, we're still not seeing any indications of tornadic debris, so that's a good sign. So as long as we continue to have that, this thing will stay aloft, but it's rotating aloft, and that's why we're warning on this, because it could produce a tornado. So I'm going to get this warning information out here really quick, so that way those that can't see live also can be able to see this. But again, I got the area of concern right here, so this is going to be the area of concern. I'll zoom in on that while I do this. So again, if you're in those areas that I just called out, so Estill Springs, Deckard, Alto, and Suwanee, towards Shady Grove and those areas too, take your tornado precautions. This is moving in your direction. So those are the main areas involved. So what I'll do here is I'll actually put a direction path on this. Let me make sure I have this right. It's moving due east. Yep, it's actually moving almost due east. So let me put a direction on this, so that way those in Pelham and Mont Eagle also know where this is heading. So it's heading on this path right here. So there you go. So that's going to be the zone where that heads. So I put that little track line on there where that thing's going. And we just got a new radar scan in here too, so it's going to pretty much follow right along that. So north side of the storm here, so north side of this, you're going to have the hail. South side is where the possible tornado is. So south side of the line I drew, that's where the possible tornado will be. North side is where the rain and hail is. So again, this tornado warning, to reiterate for just those just tuning in, this goes into effect until 4:30 p.m. Central Time for the northeastern, we'll say the northeastern half of Franklin County. This does not include the city of Cowan. Now, Cowan, you're south of this. This is going to stay north of you. So if you're in Cowan, you're not going to be involved. Sherwood, you're not involved either. Also, in Huntland, you're not involved in this. In Belvedere, you're not involved. So the southern half of Franklin County, south of the square in Winchester, you do not have a tornado issue. So this is just the way it's going at this time. So those areas need to be seeking shelter in the areas that just called out. Again, if you don't have a basement, go into an interior room on the lowest level. A great place would be, if you don't have a basement, it'd be a closet or bathroom, something that's in the middle of the house. Hallway would be good as long as it's on the lowest level and away from windows. Anything will work as long as you are away from windows and on the lowest level. Any safe place will work as long as you're in those areas that are not near any windows or outside walls. That's the thing with these possible tornadoes here, is that when they do occur, they can quickly cause a good deal damage here to areas that are, with outside windows and all that stuff. So make sure you're in the center part of your house or business, wherever you're at, on the lowest level, and stay away from windows and make sure you're on the lowest level, because that's the thing with these. So there we go. So there's your tornado warning I just put in there. Right there. Hold on just a second. There we go. Alright, let's jump back on the velocity end of things here and see what this thing looks like now on the velocity scope. Yep, it still looks pretty well defined right in here. So let me see. Let me take this off here and show you what it looks like. Don't know why I didn't take it off there, but there we go. So right here crossing 41A right now. So very close to where the dealerships and the Home Depot are. That's exactly where this area of rotation is. So it's crossing here over towards 127. So this is State Route 127, not the one in the Squatchy Valley, but this is the one in Franklin County. So it's crossing over 127 right now in Franklin County. Moving out here towards Capitol Hill, Gum Creek, Oak Grove. Here's where the Nissan plant is, right in here. So this is going to pass near or just, this is going to be maybe a mile at most north of there. It's not the strongest indication of a tornado in the world, but there's enough evidence there of some circulation where it'll be pretty close. So it'll probably pass just about a mile north of there. And it's going to travel up here. That's Old Alto Highway right there. That takes you up towards the Alto community and right up towards Oak Grove, Wilder Chapel, and towards Rourke Cove. So Rourke Cove, you need to be taking shelter too, and same with Greenhall. This is all heading up in your area, and this does appear that this is going to pass north of most of Swanee. But again, as a course of least regret, you still need to be sheltered because it could produce a tornado at any time. You got to take this seriously here because, again, these storms have a history. This supercell in particular has a history of recycling and weakening, then coming back up again, and man, look at the hail on this one. The hail size has really jumped up in this. But as the Weather Service wire is saying on here, there could be up to $half size hail on the north side of this storm. So if you're up towards Pelham, get ready for some hail. If you have time to protect your vehicle, I go ahead and run out and do that just to be on the safe side here. Because once you get above quarter size hail, that becomes a big issue. You could have hail damage. So everybody up in there around Pelham, at least prepare for hail because that's what's heading your way. Now, I can't say for certain that you're going to get a tornado, but again, I can tell you that you're likely going to get at least some rain and some hail out of this if it does hold together. So here's the area of rotation, crossing the AEDC Road. There's the Asia community. Let's get down here closer to street level here, show you where this is at. So that's Swan Lane, that's Buckner Lane. There's Knights Church Road. Again, this is northern Franklin County. Davidson Farm Lane, the Smith Cemetery, Penile Hill Road. You're in the path of this. Duncan's Stagecoach Cemetery, Payne's Church, Finney Cemetery, Prairie Chapel Road, Buckner Cemetery, Woodall Grain. All these areas need to be seeking shelter right now. And this is going to also include Gum Creek. There's Alto Community. There's a Wilder Chapel. This is heading your way next. So let's get down here and show some of the other streets. There's a Penile Court and Drive, Holland Cemetery. This is also going to end up impacting also a Gum Creek Road. There's Brayton Cemetery. There's a lot of cemeteries out near Woodall Road. And this is also Greenhall Road, so head down towards the Greenhall community. You're in the path of this too, so this is where this red meets the green right here. That's where you get the possible tornado. Now, let me check and make sure we don't have anything debris-wise. Very noisy signature for sure. It's very noisy, so it's hard to tell based off that look. But again, that's where your tornado would be, right here where it hooks around. See where it's making that C shape? East of Estill Springs. That's where possible tornado is. So if you're out here towards Timms Ford, you're all clear. So if you're out here, if you were sheltering out Timms Ford, you've been given the all clear. If you're in downtown Winchester, you've been given the all clear. This is north of you now. If you're in Cowan, this is north of you. You're good. Estill Springs, let's hang out in the safe place for about another 5 to 10 more minutes until this passes. And I think by the next radar scan, I'll be able to give you an all clear. Woods Reservoir, stay sheltered around that area. Shady Grove, stay sheltered. And get ready. I'm not saying take shelter yet, but get ready to take shelter in Pelham. Because it does appear this rotation actually wants to track a little bit north. So that may take the possible tornado towards Pelham if it does hold together. So as I said, you got to take this one seriously. Because there is a possible tornado here that's moving directly towards I-24. So if you know anybody up in here, so if you know anybody in Pelham, tag them, share this to them, whatever you got to do. Text, call, whatever you got to do, and make sure they are aware that at the minimum, they're probably going to get some large hail out of this. Could be quarter to $half size. That's enough to put dings in your car. That could put a small dent in your car because of the size of the hail, especially once it gets to $half. So you'll at least have the potential for hail. And you'll also have the potential on the south side of the storm for a possible tornado. Again, as I said, it's not the strongest indication of a tornado, but there is enough of one to where the Weather Service in Huntsville has done the proactive thing, and they're keeping this tornado warning in effect until, again, that goes in effect till 4:30. But I think it's going to be out of Franklin County before 4:30. So that's why I'm giving the heads up out here towards Pelham and out here towards Tracy City and areas, and all areas really in between, because this is heading in your direction, and this will impact your area if it does hold together. So again, these are the spots right now that need to take cover. So again, Providence, Roofledge Hill, Pelham, Valley Home, Piedmont, heads up. No formal tornado warning out in here, but it's heading your way. Now, downtown Deckard, I'll say you're in the all clear, but on the north side of town, from Nissan and north, I would still stay sheltered. But if you're in Winchester, you're clear. This is north of you. Again, when I say all clear, I want to stress this point here. When I say all clear, I don't mean all clear from the entire event. I mean all clear from this one thunderstorm. This one thunderstorm. Not from the event, because we still got several hours to go here before the main event even gets here. I mean, it's all the way out in Memphis right now. So it's got a long way to go before it gets here. It won't be here till around or just after sunset in reality. So again, when I give you an all clear, that's from one storm. That's from this one thunderstorm, not from the event. So again, here's the area of concern. It's moved a little bit. Now it's getting ready to pretty much right along 64. As I said, this is going to pretty much follow 64 right up into the Pelham area. So those of you in these areas need to be seeking shelter right now. So if you haven't done so, you need to do it. Wilder Chapel, and I know Roofledge Hill and Coffee County, you're technically not involved, but let's just play it safe as a course of least regret and take cover there. Alto, be in your safe place. Still, if you're there, stay there for at least another 20 minutes. Swanee, I would still say take cover there. I know this storm is still trending north of you. I mean, look at the hail core on this. Goodness gracious. Hold on here. I don't know why it just glitched right there, but there we go. Yeah, that's a very strong indication of hail. So as I said, this is going to be a pretty rough hailstorm up in here for the Pelham area if this continues. And then you got the hook on the south side. So this is a classic supercell here. Hail core on the north side, possible tornado on the south side. And that black and gray that you see up in here, that's the potential for $half size hail, and I wouldn't even rule out a golf ball in that. So it's not just the tornado threat with this. This is a very strong hail core, and I'm showing this here. This is the vertical integrated liquid here. This purple you see on here, that's the indication of very large hail in this thunderstorm. So as I said, you got to take this one seriously because there could be not just a tornado, but very large hail with this thunderstorm. As it crosses here over the southeastern end of Coffee County, so getting close up here towards Betsy Willis. And then next up will be Pelham. And then it's going to go right up towards Payne Cove and right up Highway 50. Let me make sure I get the name right there. It's Highway 64, and that's Highway 50. So it's going to go right up Highway 50 here and go right up towards Elkhead and eventually towards Colmont and Altamont. So heads up in those areas. This storm is heading your way. Big hail core and a possible tornado on the south side of it. Again, the rotation part, thankfully, continues to be on the weekend. So, thankfully, weak. I am actually seeing what looks like maybe two different areas. I'm seeing one here, moving into Oak Grove, and another one back here. So, there may be two small rotations in this storm. But, again, out here towards Alto, you need to be staying sheltered here. And Rourke Cove, same thing. Rourke Cove, you need to be sheltered as well. And this is also going to pass on the north side of Suwanee, at least off the mountain. And then this is going to eventually next up impact Grundy County. So the south end. So again, this will pass probably north of Mont Eagle. I don't think it's going to impact Mont Eagle unless this thing hooks right. If it hooks right, it will threaten. But from Tracy City and north, I would be on guard for this storm because you are next up. So here is what I'm going to do here. I'm going to give out a storm track on this storm, and I'm actually going to track it here from the hail and put a track at 30 miles an hour and take this through the county. So let's get up here let's stop here at Grootley for now. At 30 miles an hour, I'm tracking from the heaviest part of the storm with the hail and all that. Gum Creek, 357. Wilder Chapel, 4 o'clock. 401 in Alto. Ruffledge Hill at 403. Betsy Willis at 407. Bell's Mill, 409. Pelham at 412. 416 in Payne Cove. Elkhead at 417. Klaus Hill at 418. Fremont, 428. Flat Branch, 429. Colmont, 430. Dogtown, 432. Greentown, 434. And Grootley Logger at 439. Again, that track goes out 45 minutes. So in 45 minutes, it's going to be somewhere out in here. Again, this could also cook right. So that's what I'm saying. You're not out of the woods on this storm in Mont Eagle or Tracy, because if this hooks right, this is going to be an issue for you. But if it pulls northeast, it'll be more of a Colmont issue. But if it pulls to the right, this will be a Mont Eagle and Tracy issue, and it may also be a Griffith Creek issue in Marion County. So we got to watch that area too. But again, right in this area where you see this very large hail core, this is going to be on the north side of the storm. So even with no tornado, you're going to have some large hail potential. It could be, again, a quarter, possibly $half with a golf ball in there somewhere. Very serious storm. So, again, if you're in Winchester, you're all clear, as I said. Estill Springs, you're all clear. This storm is east of you now. And I'm going to say, actually, Deckard and the Nissan plant, you guys can also come out of your shelters. This tornado is to your north and east. So, any possible tornado or hail from this thunderstorm is off to your north and east now. You're in the clear from this storm. In downtown Suwanee around the university, I'm going to give you an all clear as well, because this is going to stay north of you and stay off the mountain. So it's going to stay away from the Suwanee side of the plateau here. So it's going to stay north of there. So if you're in that area, you're all clear. And we just got a new warning update in here. So let me see what this says. You probably are seeing the flashing on the screen. That means we have a new update here. Let me see what we got. Let's see if anything's changed. Here we go. Here's the new update. Still radar indicated. It says at 3:56, a severe thunderstorm that's capable of producing a tornado was located near Deckard or 8 miles northeast of Winchester, and the movement is to the east at 35 miles an hour. Hazard is tornado and half-dollar size hail. It's radar indicated. And this will pass north of Swanee at 4 o'clock. So this is going to be north of there. So think about the Alto area. It's going to be in that area around 4 o'clock. Also, it says Woods Reservoir and Arnold Air Force Base are also involved in this warning. So again, those areas need to be taking shelter. And also this uptick in the lightning you see here, that's also another indication that this storm is strengthening, at least the hail core in this. So this definitely has the high potential of hail. And we just got a new severe thunderstorm warning in here. And it does have a tornado tag on this. So let me read this out to you. This is a new severe thunderstorm warning for Coffee and Grundy counties. This just came out of it. This just came in. This does have a tornado possible tag to it, so I would treat it like a tornado warning. It says a severe thunderstorm was located near or just north of Swanee or 7 miles northeast of Winchester, moving east at 30 miles an hour. This is for 60-mile-an-hour winds and quarter-size hail. It's radar indicated. This severe thunderstorm will be near. Now, it didn't say tornadic, but this severe thunderstorm will be near Mont Eagle around 4:05 and Tracy City around 4:15. Other locations impacted by this severe thunderstorm include Grutley Logger, Pelham, Colmont, and Palmer. So again, southern Grundy County, the southern half of Grundy County, not Altamont and Beersheba, this is south of you, but the southern half of Grundy County, so draw a line from Highway 108 and south, basically. And the far southeastern tip of Coffee County. It does not include Hillsborough. It does not include any of the major cities of Coffee County. This is actually staying to your south and east. I mean, it's for really the Ruffledge Hill and also the Betsy Willis area. Now we have another severe thunderstorm warning here for northern Marion County. This is going to be also for quarter-size hail and 60-mile-an-hour winds, and there is the tag of a possible tornado. So again, let me read you that. That just came across as well. Again, these warnings are coming in live here right now, so let me get that out to you. It's in the area in yellow that you see on this map. Red's tornado warning. Yellow is a severe thunderstorm warning. It says a severe thunderstorm was located near or just north of Swanee or 9 miles northeast of Winchester, moving east at 30. Hazard is 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts and quarter-size hail. It's radar indicated. Locations in the path include Chimney State Park, Griffith Creek, Mont Eagle, and Fiery Gizzard. And this is going to pass just north of Whitwell. So Whitwell and Crossroads, this is north of you. And this is going to pass west of Dunlap, but if you look at the trajectory of this thunderstorm, if it can survive the higher elevations in here, it's going to make it up there. So you'll at least have the potential for large hail and gusty winds from this thunderstorm, from this supercell storm, as it moves up the plateau here into Grundy County and clips the far northern end of Marion County, so Griffith Creek area, and up in here towards the western end of Sequatchie County, up towards Fredonia Mountain. Again, your severe thunderstorm warning in Marion and Sequatchie counties and the far western and northern tips of those counties, that goes into effect until 5 o'clock Central. The one for Grundy County also goes until 5 o'clock. So 5 o'clock for both of those storms, and that's for the potential of large hail and damaging winds. And I cannot rule out, I'm going to be real here with you, I cannot rule out the chance that this thing regains its rotation and it might produce a tornado. That's why the tornado possible tag is in the severe thunderstorm warning, because of the history of this storm, and it could still spin up a quick tornado. Again, if it does spin up one, it'll be in the brief spin up variety, but it's still dangerous. So again, this, as I said, this is the only big storm we have on the map right now. It's actually the only storm in our coverage area. It's this severe one that's been producing the tornado warning. So Grundy County, heads up for you. If you're in Marion County, also a heads up for you, mainly for the Griffith Creek area of the county. And this does go to about Cartwright. Cartwright's also in this. So if you're in Cartwright, you're under a severe thunderstorm warning until 5 o'clock, as well as Tracy City, Mont Eagle, Grutley, and Palmer, as well as Colmont and Pelham. So those areas need to be at least away from windows. Now, you don't have to take tornado safety precautions, but I would suggest you do so at least for the sake of the storm's history, because this has had a history of producing funnel clouds and tornadoes in its past here. So you got to make sure that you want to take this one a little bit more seriously, even though it's a little weaker, but it's still got the indication of some large hail. I'll see what that looks like now. And yeah, right there. So right over Shady Grove, Wilder Chapel, Ruffledge Hill, that's exactly where the hail core is, and that's going to move right up in the Pelham. So that's the area of concern. And still this area right down in here, right around Alto, the rotation thankfully is a lot weaker now. That's some good news. So the rotation is really weakened on this thing. In fact, I'm just seeing more of a strong downburst wind. So that has really come down, thankfully. So we don't have as much of a tornado threat. But again, it could still ramp back up. So I don't want to take my eyes off that because it still has big hail potential. As it moves up here towards Pelham, here's I-24 right here. So if you know anybody that's traveling along 41 or 24 here between Mott Eagle and Pelham, I would suggest that they don't do that right now, at least for the next 20 minutes. I mean, let this storm pass both those major roads, because at least for the hail potential. Because this hail, once you get up above quarter size, you start running into that potential for some at least some minor dents in your car. So that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that's going to happen for sure, but once you get up above quarters, that's when you got to watch out for the possibility of some hail damage. Now, I do want to note something here. This storm did actually take a bit of a right turn. So I really hope this is not a sign of this thing re-strengthening again. I hope it's not, because when you see a storm take a right like that, watch what happens here. It was taking that northeast turn, and in that last frame, it took a hard right. We got to watch that, because that could also be an indication that as this storm fights elevation as it comes up into Grundy County, it could try to tighten back up its spin a little bit. So that's what I'm saying. We cannot let our guard down here. So here's Klaus Hill Road. There's Summerfield. So these are close to the areas that were hit by that tornado back on April 6th. So it's just a little bit north this time. Again, not seeing a tornado imminent, but I'm just saying that this thunderstorm is following a somewhat similar path to that, just on the north side this time around. So this will be more of a Klaus Hill issue the way I'm seeing it. And it's going to head out here towards Sanders Crossing. There's Flat Branch, Hobbs Hill, Shattuck Hill, hail and wind potential with that. You also got some rain falling up here north of Colmont and up towards Altamont, but this is the non-severe part up here. But you can kind of see the I guess you see the anvil of this being spread out. So that's a pretty strong storm, and that's what that's indicating right there. That's a pretty strong storm. It's spreading that thing out pretty far. So let's see actually how tall this thunderstorm is, because I bet it's pretty tall. Let's see if I can get the echo tops on this, because this will probably tell a story right here. Oh yeah, that's definitely a very tall thunderstorm, seen upwards of 35 to 40,000 feet up. So. And you definitely wonder why this is producing hail, because this is a pretty tall storm. It's broken through the cap and the middle layers of the atmosphere, and this thing's going. So, hail for sure heading into Pelham, and then hail for sure next heading into Colmont. And we still got to watch that south side where it starts hooking around just a little bit. We still got to watch that little south side in case it tries to spin up again. So. Again, the hail core right now is crossing over 64, and it's actually crossing I-24 right now. So pretty close to the Pelham exit here. So here's where the old Stuckies used to be and all that. That's where the hail core is now. It's heading into the Bells Mill area. Here's 41, so Mountain View, Valley Home. So this is moving into Valley Home right now. Here's the big intersection there with State Route 50 and 41 there in Pelham. So there's Dixie Highway right in here. Got some hail moving in now. Heavy rain and hail moving in now with a lot of lightning in it. Payne Cove, this is heading your way, so heading up towards Payne Cove. And most of the hail is going to pass north of Mott Eagle, so you won't have to worry about protecting your car in Mott Eagle on the mountain. This is actually going to stay north of you, at least most of the city. But this is going to head up here towards Klaus Hill. So if you're in Klaus Hill, batten down the hatches, you got a potential hailstorm moving your way. I mean, I'm not seeing a major tornadic storm. I'm seeing more of a wind and hail event. But, again, you definitely have that potential for some hail and some strong wind gusts in here. That could be 50 to 60 miles an hour. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to put a track on this storm and track that out here and show you where that's going. So that's going to move east at 30 miles an hour. And I'll double check, make sure I'm saying that correctly. So that's moving. Yep, 30. Just wanted to make sure that I was saying that correctly. So moving east at 30. Bells Mill 408, so pretty much right now. Mount View at 410. Klaus Hill at 417. The north side of Tracy City, so north of the Dutch Maid at 423. So this will be north of downtown. Just north, not by much. Hobbs Hill there around 425. Flat Branch around 427. Shatterkill at 428 if it turns right. Colmont at 428. Dogtown 431. Grootley Logger at 438. Palmer at 445. Griffith Creek around 447. And Barkertown around 447. And Doss around 458. So if this timeline works out correctly here, this will put it in Cartwright and Dunlap close to 5 o'clock. Or just either right around or just before 5 o'clock. So if this supercell storm holds together, that's where it's going next. So again, this thing's got to survive this elevation though, and that's the big question. Can it be able to survive this elevation change up in here? Because it's kind of a shallow, lower top storm. So there's a chance that it may tear this thing apart, which we hope it does, because we don't want this thing continuing to go. But like I say, this is still intense enough to where we got to watch this. So again, there's the hail core crossing I-24, getting ready to cross 41 here, and it's pretty much doing so right now. And Klaus Hill, it's on your doorstep. So Payne Cove, on your doorstep too. You're probably about to see at least the rain beginning, but the hail is back in here. Now the hail size has actually decreased a little, so that's some good news. So we're not really I don't think we're looking at the damaging hail like we were a few minutes ago. But it's still strong enough to where you could have the potential for some hail and gusty winds here as it moves across. Here's Highway 56, there's 108, so right in that area in the middle. So between Colmont and Tracy, heads up. Hail and wind heading your way, and this is going to be next, and now here towards the south side of Grootley Logger and down towards the Palmer area, as well as Griffith Creek, and eventually between Cartwright and Fredonia Mountain. Again, as I said in Dunlap, you're looking at around 5 o'clock for this storm to get to you. So if this storm holds together, this storm with the possible hail and gusty winds is going to move into the Dunlap area around 5 o'clock. And also Cagle Mountain, this is going to stay south of you. So if you're in Cagle, this is not going to be an issue for you. If you're in Altamont, Beersheba, this is going to stay south of you. And really the rest of Marion County, I'm going to say about 95% of Marion County is not going to be impacted by this storm. So if you're in Whitwell or Jasper or South Pitt or Kimball or Haletown, Orem, this is not going to be a problem for you. This is staying well to your north. I mean, this is staying a pretty good distance to your north. Now, we also got another supercell I'm noting out here. We got another potential long tracker here trying to develop right here. So we got to watch this one. This is the next one. Right here, moving across northeast Mississippi, heading back towards Florence, Alabama again. So heads up in our western counties again. They just put out a new warning on that cell. So again, if you notice the trajectory of it, and I'll put on the trajectory, it's moving something like this. So it's going to take it basically just a little south, if not right back into those same areas that just had that are having this severe thunderstorm right now. So this possible tornadic storm here is going to move into the shoals, and then it's going to eventually, if it holds together, move back into Lincoln County and possibly clip portions of Jackson and Franklin counties here down the road. I mean, that's going to be a long time from now. Probably won't be for another 2 hours, I would say, but just giving you your early heads up here that we may have another supercell here that may try to move into that direction here down the road. And the main line and everything, that's all developing out here towards Memphis and the Mississippi River. So that's going to be the main line back out that way. And it'll be a while before it gets here. So again, there's your possible hail core here moving across 41 there, so north of Mont Eagle by a pretty good bit. Thankfully, this storm is continuing to weaken a little, so hopefully this thing's finally falling apart, I'm hoping. Right here towards Klaus Hill, so Klaus Hill Road. There's Summerfield, so right around Summerfield and Klaus Hill. That's going to be the area where this hail core crosses over. Again, the hail core has decreased in intensity. Still got pink in there, but the size has decreased, so it may actually be below the severe threshold of quarter-size hail. At least we can hope. Right here around Sanders Crossing, so Campbell's Armory, you guys are involved in this possible hail event here. This is moving up towards Flat Branch. There's Hobbs Hill, Sarton Springs. There's Colmont, so this is heading up towards Greentown and Colmont. That's going to be the area where this possible hail is going next. And as I said, we're continuing to lose that meson. I know the rotation's a little weak right here, but this is more of a really strong wind signature strong downburst wind signature that's bringing down that hail. Because in order to get hail, you got to have a very strong updraft and downdraft of the thunderstorm area. The updraft has to be very strong and supportive. So it's not going to be able to be forced down unless it has something to force it down, which are the strong winds aloft here. So you're definitely getting some strong straight line wind in here along the leading edge of this as this moves up the mountain here into Klaus Hill, and eventually out here towards Highway 56 and on the north side of Tracy City. So again, this will be mainly north of 41, so this is going to go north of 41. So it won't be affecting anybody down there, so you don't have to worry about protecting your car or anything down there. So White City, this is going to stay north of you. Mont Eagle, this is also staying north of you by a good bit. This is also staying north of the Pocket. This is staying north of Foster Falls. This won't impact you. But this is going to eventually, if it holds together, if it can hold on, it's going to impact the south side of Colmont as well. And eventually out here towards the Palmer area. Looks like we got a new warning update on that cell. Let's see what's being said. At least the Grundy portion. It says here, let's see. Severe thunderstorm warning remains in effect until 5 o'clock for Grundy County, southern Grundy County. It says a severe thunderstorm was located near Mont Eagle, or just north of there actually, or 17 miles northeast of Winchester. It's moving east at 35. Hazard is 60-mile-an-hour winds at quarter-size hail. So they brought the hail size down just a little bit. So it's not half dollar, it's up to quarter. But I'll be honest, it's probably a little smaller than that, in my opinion. Probably more towards the dime to penny size category from what I see. This severe storm will be near Tracy City and Mont Eagle, the north side of both of those cities, by 4:20. Pelham, Colmont, Grutley, Logger, and Palmer are also in the path of this storm. I don't have a new warning update for the northern end of Marion and western Sequatchie County, so that one's the same as is until 5 o'clock. Again, for quarter-size hail and 60-mile-an-hour winds. But I also want to note here, and I'm going to show this to you. Notice both of these warnings have a certain tag in there. Notice it says tornado possible. So there's still that chance that it could kind of cycle back up, and it could still produce a little mesocyclone that may produce a small tornado. So I'm saying we can't let our guard down just yet just because it's on a weakening trend, because this could obviously re-intensify. Also, a nasty storm's going up towards the Franklin, Tennessee area, up towards Williamson County, so south of Nashville. That's a pretty nasty storm up there, too, that could have some big hail in it. So this is also going to move out here towards 108 up here. So here's the Grundy, Marion County line. So Greentown's about right here. There's the Flat Branch area. Take a sip of water here real quick. This is going to pass just south of Dogtown, or very close there. So it's going to be a close call up in there. And this is going to pass south of the Bergmantown area, so Fremont, south of you. Elkhead, this is actually going to pass south of you. Earlier it was looking like that storm was going to go north of there, but we'll go north towards there, but this is going to stay south. Now, if you're in Franklin County, you're all clear. So you don't have, from this thunderstorm, the tornado warning has been allowed to expire. So if you're in Franklin County, you do not have a tornado warning anymore. I forgot to mention that. But if you're in Franklin County, the tornado threat from this thunderstorm, from this one thunderstorm, is east of your area now. So this is east of you. You don't have an issue with this storm. Stay on alert, though, because we still got a long ways to go. But from this one thunderstorm, you don't have a tornado threat anymore because this is to your east from this one storm. Got to watch the storms out to the west, though, because they could pack a punch. Unfortunately, it looks like the hail size might have increased yet again, so it looks like this thing's undergoing another cycle, moving right over Klaus Hill. So you're probably hearing the hail right now, at least on the north side of Klaus Hill up here. So as you're heading down the mountain here towards Payne Cove, that's the area where this large hail core is being indicated by Doppler radar. So when you get into this gray color you see right in here, that's the potential for quarter-size hail or possibly a little larger. Let's see what it looks like on this source. And yeah, it's re-intensified again. So, again, these storms go up and down in cycles. That's why I say we can't let our guard down, because these storms, they have a tendency to cycle, especially these little supercells. They will go and go and go for a while. I mean, they'll look like, oh, they're falling apart, and then the next thing you know, it's back to being a full-blown severe storm. So, thankfully, I'm not seeing any signs of real rotation. I mean, this is a very broad mesocyclone, so this is not indicative of any major rotation. Now, what I'm seeing in here As you go into Tracy City, now let me actually get down here so that way I can draw this without that line being in the way. You see this little punch of wind right here, this bright red? That's an indication of a very strong downburst wind. So you're probably going to get 50 to 60 mile an hour gusts just based off that. So just based off this little downburst here. It's not quite a microburst, but it's pretty close to a pretty major downburst in here. So you're definitely going to get some very strong wind gusts up in here as well. Heading up here towards Klaus Hill, Shatterkill, up here towards Flat Branch and Greentown. You run the potential for some very strong winds as well as the hail. So when you get that kind of push out like that from the wind, that's a very strong indication of some strong winds. That could be in the order of 50 to 60 miles an hour. As I said, I do not at the moment, I will say this because it could change, but right now I do not see signs of a tornado in this. So if you're in southern Grundy County, you don't have a tornado right now. You have wind, you have hail. That's it. Now the hail, if it gets above quarter size, it might ding your car a little. But as long as we keep it to quarter and below, we won't have to worry about hail damage as long as we keep it low. As long as the hail size can stay kind of smaller. But again, right in here where you see all this pink, that's where that hail's going to be. And it's heading up towards Colmont. And eventually, if it holds together, Palmer, Griffith Creek, so right along the 108 corridor. Here's the Cartwright area. It looks like it's going to pass near or just north of Cartwright. This is going to pass north of the pocket. And this is going to be pretty close to Fredonia Mountain. I mean, this is going to be very close to there. It's actually maybe beelining right towards Fredonia. So if you're in Fredonia, you might want to think about, on the safe side area, you might want to think about protecting your vehicle from hail. Because that's what's heading your way. Doss, you're on the edge of this, and you're close enough to be considered part of this too. Even though it looks like the major part of this hail core is probably going to pass to your north and possibly impact Dunlap. So if you're in Dunlap, heads up. You're not in a formal warning right now, but I would suggest if you can, just to be on the safe side, if you're able to, if you have that ability to shelter your car or cover it up with something, I would just go ahead and do that to be on the safe side. And hopefully nothing happens and you don't have to worry about it, but let's just go ahead and be proactive, and if you can be able to protect your car with something, I would just do that to be on the safe side. Because these storms are capable here of producing some quarter to perhaps $half size hail in these storms. We'll just have to see where it goes from there. But again, the entire area is under a tornado watch until 10 o'clock. So I'm zooming out here to give you the full view. So again, if you're in the following counties, you have a tornado watch until 10 o'clock. So we'll start south and go north. Jackson, Marshall, DeKalb, Alabama, Chattanooga, Walker, Dade, and Catoosa in Georgia, Hamilton, Marion, Franklin, Moore, Lincoln, Coffee, Grundy, Squatchy, Bledsoe, Van Buren, Warren, Cannon, DeKalb, White, Cumberland, and Putnam. Tornado watch until 10 for your area in Tennessee. And that watch goes all the way back to the Mississippi River. And in fact, we got more storms, of course, forming back out here towards the Memphis area. So again, we still got a long ways to go. And we're still keeping an eye on this supercell here that's heading up into northwest Alabama. Because next up, it's going to go right back into those same areas, maybe just a little bit south, that were impacted by this supercell here a little bit earlier on. So here's back into this storm here live, moving across the southern end of Grundy County. As I said, I don't see signs of a tornado right now, but I'm seeing some signs of some pretty strong wind in here. Ooh, that's some pretty hot wind right there, moving across the east side of Tracy City. This might be a little off here, but this is saying 62. Again, remember, this is a loft here on radar, so this is obviously subtracted, so this will probably be close to 50 at the surface. So definitely some 40 to 50 in here for sure. In this area. So I'm kind of taking this little whatever you want to call it here, that's this inspector tool right here that's showing how strong the wind might be. So yeah, 40 to 50 in here for sure. So yeah, very close to severe level wind gusts. Remember, severe level wind gusts start at 58, so just below that. So it's definitely pretty strong from the south side. Again, the storm trended back down again, but we still got a little bit of a hail core here moving into the south side of Colmont right now. So it's leaving Klaus Hill, it's leaving Sarton Springs, it's leaving Payne Cove and Pelham. It's moving up 56 into Colmont and Flat Branch. Next up on the agenda here is the south side of Grootley Logger, and up here towards Palmer and the north side of Griffith Creek. It does look like Griffith Creek is going to miss out on the majority of this hail. So the hail threat's going to probably stay north of Griffith Creek and be more of a Palmer and Grootley issue. Again, if you're up here towards Altamont and Burstable, you have nothing to worry about. This is south of you. You don't have to worry about any hail or wind. Again, I'm still watching the velocity to make sure this thing doesn't try to spin again, and so far I haven't seen really big evidence of that. It's a very broad area, so that's why I'm not really too concerned about it right now, because it's a very strong indication of wind as opposed to tornado. But I'm still keeping my eye on it here just to make sure this thing doesn't try to spin up any more than it should. But again, there's the lightning indicator. Pretty strong indication of lightning as well. So these are going to be some loud thunderstorms moving through. I mean, loud May thunderstorms. Producing a lot of lightning, torrential downpours. Perhaps a little bit of hail as well. Don't know what happened there, but okay. Looks like my computer just glitched there for a second. But here's the latest track here. I'm actually going to go ahead and update this track for you. So let me put this on the speed here. It's going to be at east at 30. So here we go. This is going to be east at 30, and we're going to track this out to Dunlap here to give you kind of an early alert. So 30, not 50. I don't know why I didn't. There we go. 30 here. So Flat Branch at 425. Greentown around 430. Palmer around 442. Doss around 456. Dunlap around 5 o'clock. So if this holds together, it's heading your way there. And then Mount Airy, there on the north side of Dunlap, they're around 509. So that's going to be the area that's next in line to see the potential for some wind and hail. Now, thankfully on this end, it doesn't look as strong as it once did. So that's some encouraging news. But I tell you, this little storm is hanging on. I mean, it's hanging on. It's in a favorable environment technically too. Now there has been a little bit of rain-cooled air over here from some rain that impacted this area a little earlier, which may be, I think, weakening this storm a little. Well, actually, just as I said that, I jinxed it. So it's right back to being intense again. But again, as I said, it's not quite where it was earlier, is what I mean to say, because it's fighting the boundary there between a little bit of coolerness and down here to where it's a little warmer. So it's kind of fighting that battle of the air mass right now. And as I said, there is a little bit of broad rotation, but again, it's not a major deal. But again, this could still be some hail in here on this north side. Yeah, as I said, not very much on the rotation, but some very strong wind. So here's Griffith Creek. It's heading your way. So again, as I said, if you're up towards Dunlap, you're looking at this around 5 o'clock. Palmer, within the next 20 minutes, you'll be getting this storm. Same with Grootley Logger, especially along and south of 108. And let me get the right direction here and tell you where exactly this is going. This is moving basically to east. So when you see a strengthening storm, you'll notice it will curve to the right. So Griffith Creek, even though it appears the major hail is going to probably pass just north of you, so it may come up here maybe at the farthest south around Kelly Creek Road. At least the center of town will avoid the hail core, but you may get some very strong downburst winds on the south side. Because this is technically still a hook. There's still a hook on it. But what I'm seeing right now is some very strong downburst winds, which are those straight line winds that, I talk about a lot. That's what you'll probably get from this, as opposed to large hail. But the large hail is going to stay just to your north and pretty much pass halfway between the center of Griffith Creek and the center of Palmer. It's going to pass basically halfway, and then it's going to head out here towards the Doss area and pass near or just south of the center of downtown Dunlap, close to center point. So that'll be the next trajectory in line of this storm, if it holds together, is going to be. And remember, this, by the way, this is the same supercell that produced that tornado north of Florence, Alabama, earlier this afternoon. So this storm has been going ever since it was out there in Lauderdale County, Alabama. So this is tracked easily over 2 hours. So this is a long track storm. As I said earlier, conditions are favorable today for long track storms that could go a very far distance. Even if the tornado doesn't go that far, the thunderstorm itself, the conditions are favorable for thunderstorms like that to go farther out. So the wind and hail and this particular storm could easily go even farther than this. So that's why the warning goes out into Sequatchie County. it's to account for this potential that this storm could keep going, because it is actually entering. It's going to get out of this little more rain cooled stuff in the northern end of Grundy County and actually move into an environment that hasn't been touched yet. So in other words, it's going to have a chance to strengthen once it gets out here into the northern end of Marion County and eventually in the southern Squatchy County. So that's what I'm saying. We can't let our guards down, because there's a chance that this could wrap back up again, and we may have future tornadic issues down the road. So, not saying it'll definitely happen, but I just want you to be prepared in case that this were to strengthen. But at the moment, at this very moment, this is mainly a wind, a strong wind and hail storm. But that hail, in a few areas, could potentially cross the quarter size criteria, and that could produce a small ding in your car. So just a little heads up there for those between Palmer, Griffith Creek, and eventually out towards Doss, the south side of Dunlap, and possibly the Center Point area too. Not so much Cartwright. Cartwright, this is going to probably stay just to your north. And this is not going to be an issue for Whitwell. So if you're in Whitwell, this storm is passing to your north by a pretty good bit. It's at least a good 5, 10, 15 miles north of there. So it's going to stay north of Whitwell by a pretty good bit. Even if it were to take this right path towards Griffith Creek, it's going to stay pretty far north of the town of Whitwell here. Crossroads, this is also not going to be an issue for you. This is passing well to your north. And if you're in Jasper or South Pittsburgh, this is well to your north. And in fact, it's just warm and humid down there. That's all I can say at the moment. That's all you got down there. This is the only storm, and I can zoom out and show you, other than this other tornado warning near Columbia, Tennessee, that's going to stay west of us here. This is the only game in town in our immediate coverage area right now, is this storm right here. This is the main one. Also, another tornado warning was just issued with this supercell out here that I'm tracking, also near Florence, Alabama, because guess where the direction that's going? Here's Jackson County right here. Let me show you where Jackson County is on this map. It's right here. That's where it's going. I don't have an exact time frame when it'll get there, but as I said, it's going to probably be about 2 hours before it gets there. So, considering this is trying to move more to the right, this may become a Jackson County problem here within the next 2 hours. We'll see if it holds together out that far, but if it does, that's where it's going. So, heads up in Jackson County, you may have a severe thunderstorm and perhaps a tornado warned storm heading your way within the next couple of hours. Not saying it'll definitely happen, but stay alert, because we got a long way to go here. Now up in here, here's the newest update here. We still got this little stinger back here, which is another term for a hook here. It's also, you can also call it a stinger. Right back in here is where there would be a little bit of rotation again. I'm not seeing it. It's very weak. But what I'm seeing here for sure is a strong downburst wind. But I like the precautionary measure here and just keeping the tornado possible tag on this, just in case it re-strengthens and a tornado warning has to be issued. But right now we're not at that point, thankfully. So right over Shattuck Hill and Hobbs Hill, that's where the strong downburst winds are. And the stronger hail core is north of Greentown and moving east to Flat Branch. And getting ready to come up into the south side of Palmer here, near and south of the center of downtown, and pass down here close to Kelly Creek Road in the northern end of Griffith Creek. So that's going to be the trajectory of this storm. As I say, it's pretty much moving due east, with maybe a very, very slight east-northeast progression here. But I said, Dunlap, heads up. This is heading your way. Here's East Valley Road. This is also going to cross East Valley Road in 28 here over the next 30 minutes to 40 minutes or so. So heads up out that way. You got a strong to severe storm heading your way. If it also holds together, this could also be an issue for Flat Top Mountain, perhaps Mowbray, and up towards Sale Creek in Hamilton County. This storm will also head your way at 2. So this is actually going to follow kind of like a path like this and cut into the northern end of Hamilton County if it does hold together. Now, we also got these, again, as I said, we got these other tornado warning storms we got to watch out here to the west, but I think this one near Columbia is going to stay west of us. But this one out in here is probably going to head towards Jackson County. So, again, I wanted to point that out. And in case interests are wondering, there's no more tornado warning. At the very beginning of the broadcast here, there was a tornado warning up in Knox County in the Knoxville area, but that has since well expired. That storm is well out into the mountains and weakening rapidly out there. So no threat there anymore. But again, this is the area right now where there could be some hail, and there could be the possibility of some very strong winds moving over towards Greentown. So north of the Pryor Ridge area, north of White City is where this is moving into. So right in here, Carpenter Cove is way down here. So this is staying north of there. And this is going to pass just north, and I mean barely north of the pocket. Now, it turned a little more right, so you may get grazed by this storm here with some gusty winds down in toward, and maybe a brief burst of heavy downpours down towards the pocket. But this is squarely going to be a Griffith Creek deal as it moves off to the east. Again, this storm is hooking to the right a little bit. So, again, when you have a right-moving storm, sometimes it will strengthen. So, Griffith Creek, get ready for gusty wind and hail. And same with Palmer, especially on the south side of town. Now, Colmont, you're pretty much out of this now, at least from this storm. So, Colmont, this is on the east side of town, but it's quickly moving away. Tracy City, you're out of this. This is east of you now. So, Tracy City and west, from this thunderstorm, you're good. So, you can draw a line here basically along 56. And areas west of that road are in Grundy County are clear from this, while this southeastern quarter of the county, along and south of 108 and east of 56, is not quite in the clear because they're still dealing with the hail and wind. So that's just the way I'm seeing it. Again, I don't see, and there's another cell here I'm noticing that's popping up here near Delrose and southwest of Fable there earlier from that same supercell that's in Grundy County right now. This is moving back into those same areas. Again, right now it's a quick downpour here, moving into Lincoln County, but again, we've seen today how quickly these things have strengthened. So, just something to watch here for those in the Fayetteville and Park City areas. Again, no immediate threat there, but just something we got to keep an eye on. Every little individual cell today is just going to have to be watched a little extra carefully because it could become big hail producer. It could also become a tornado producer. Now, I'm not seeing any other indications at this point of any other storms in the area. Again, this is the only one in our viewing area at the moment. I mean, that now, of course, that will likely change as we go here for the next several hours because we still got a long ways to go. And I just saw an update here from the Storm Prediction Center. Again, the higher instability is beginning to shift a little bit farther east. So the highest, actually, in instability right now is out towards the Mississippi River. But over the next few hours, that's going to slowly drift east. So now, if there is anything good we can say here, at least I can say, as we go towards sunset here, we will be losing that daytime heating. So when these storms get here, which won't be until like 6, 7, at the earliest 6, but I'm going to say probably more like 7 to roughly 11 o'clock. So between that 7 to 11 time frame especially, that's going to be when this next wave gets going out here and moves into our area. But again, it could be as early as 6 in some areas, so be on guard. But again, we still got to watch out because these little isolated cells could still wander around and create some trouble in areas that they go over, at least in the form of wind and hail. But I cannot rule out that chance of an isolated tornado. Now, the rotation on this, I'm not seeing anything really impressive, thankfully. I'm still seeing this as very weak. On the rotation side, that again, this is more of a strong downburst wind. So if the clouds do look a little creepy and you see this shelf cloud and all this, I would not be too concerned because it's not a rotating thunderstorm. Remember, a shelf cloud's not a rotating storm. I mean, you'd have to have wall cloud and you'd have to be able to visibly see it rotate in order for it to be a full-blown, rotation concern. So if you're seeing a shelf cloud ahead of this towards Griffith Creek, I really wouldn't worry too much about that right now because you don't have a tornado concern. Again, all the areas in yellow that you see on this map here surrounding the severe thunderstorm warnings, which are in orange, kind of a brighter yellow. The lighter yellow is a tornado watch that goes in effect until 10 o'clock. And that's to account, number one, for the supercells, and second, for the line that's going to be developing out west, and that'll hit our way here around or just after sunset this evening. So, as I said, I'll say it over and over again, we got a long ways to go. And this is not going to be out of our area until 11 o'clock at the earliest. So we still got another 6 to 8 hours of this severe weather threat. Now, hopefully, fingers crossed, this is the only one that we have to really be on for. Hopefully, we won't have to worry about the rest of them. Fingers crossed. But we still have that enhanced risk Again, when you have an enhanced risk like this, you know, when you talk about not just for the damaging wind, but also the tornado side, when you have an enhanced risk, you got to take it a little extra seriously because conditions are favorable for the possibility of tornadoes. Now, I'll be honest with you, and not to jinx it here, so far, I mean, I'm not seeing the conditions right now for an EF2 or higher tornado like it was earlier. But even if that does happen, it'd be isolated, but it'd be significant for the area that would get it. But right now, I'm not seeing indication. I'm seeing more of the spin-up variety as opposed to the big tornado. Now, we did earlier when that was in western Franklin County. It was really trying. I mean, it really tried there for a few minutes to do something. But thankfully, from what I understand, it did not touch down. It did not do anything big out there towards Timms Ford. But we'll just have to wait and see here what happens with that. But as far as I know, there hasn't been any damage or anything like that from this, so that's good. So that's great. So hopefully it stays that way, and we don't have any damage or anything like that. So again, if you're in Griffith Creek and Palmer, get ready for some heavy rain, gusty winds, and perhaps some hail moving into your area. And again, when you still see this little hook right here, you still got to watch out because there could still be a small little tornado that may try to form out of that. But right now, the chance of that is unlikely. Now, while that one's on the weekend here, let me show you this other storm that may impact Jackson County down the road. And let me look at this right here. This is west of Florence and the Shoals. If you know anybody out there towards Florence and Muscle Shoals, make sure they're aware. Pretty strong indication of rotation and definitely some large hail in that area. And that's moving to the east here pretty quickly. They're about 30 to 40 miles an hour. If you know anybody up in Columbia, Tennessee, they got a possible tornado with this supercell that's moving basically up 43 into that area. It's got that hook on it too. Rotation's pretty tight in there too. It's not the strongest in the world, but it's pretty tight in there. And another supercell moving towards Franklin, Tennessee, and that's going to head out here towards Murfreesboro and Smyrna here down the road. So if you know anybody up there, make sure they're sheltering. Very strong winds and some large hail potential in that. And they're saying up to baseball-size hail possible in that storm. So, wow. So, baseball-size hail being indicated near Franklin, Tennessee, which is south of Nashville. So, heads up towards Smyrna and Murfreesboro. That's what's heading your way. So, if you know anybody out there, just make sure they know to protect their vehicle because there's going to be some big hail up there. And we're still getting, and speaking of hail, we're still getting some indications of hail here. Not as big as that, but definitely not as big as baseball. But probably about, say, penny to quarter, I would say. Moving up here towards the Highway 108 area. So here's Kelly Creek. So Kelly Creek runs down in here. Here's 108. So there's downtown Palmer. So it's going to split the difference here between the center of Griffith Creek and the center of Palmer and move practically right along the Grundy-Marion County line as well as the Sequatchie County line. And move up towards Doss Mountain, towards the Doss community, north and past near or just north of the Cartwright area. And pass pretty close or just south of Fredonia Mountain in the center of downtown Dunlap. So that's going to be the trajectory of this thunderstorm that is a little weaker looking, but still pretty healthy looking as this moves off to the east here fairly, about average speed roughly at 30 to 35 miles an hour is the movement on that. Again, you'll probably get some rain in Dunlap first, but the most intense part of this storm is still well to the south and west of there. And there's also another little shower that's popped up here over Lookout Mountain on the Tennessee side. It's heading up into Chattanooga right now, but so far I haven't seen anything other than that. Yeah, that's just a shower at the moment, but we'll have to wait and see if that can grow upscale or not. That's going to be the big question. But so far it's not doing anything there. And this little downpour I was talking about Lincoln County earlier, that has weakened considerably in the last few scans. Again, these cells have been trying to get going out here, but they just haven't had the same success, thankfully, as this one has had. It just hadn't been able to fully sustain itself. This one back in here is a totally different story. I mean, this one right here could be a potential long tracker. It could be another one right there. And again, unfortunately, that takes it right towards the Huntsville area, and that may take it again towards Jackson County. So somewhere in that 2-hour time frame is when we got to watch specifically Jackson County for that. And then up here to the north here's back to where the hail core again is slightly increased just a little bit again. So again, south side of Palmer, moving up here toward, there's 108 right there. Kelly Creek's right in here. The Pocket Road is right in here, so it's going to be just north of the Pocket, but not by much. Just by a little bit. Again, no rotation in the thunderstorm. I know you may be seeing a little bit of red and green and may think that's a little bit of circulation. I mean, it's not. It's a very strong, it's more of a strong wind signature. Because I'll tell you, as long as this stays spaced apart from the green here, as long as the red and green stays spaced apart as opposed to right next to one another, we won't have to worry about a tornado issue as long as it stays apart. So as long as those two colors stay separate, we won't have to worry about tornado with that. It'll be more of a hail threat than anything. And yeah, I don't see anything else happening in northeast Alabama or north Georgia or the rest of southeast Tennessee at the moment outside of that one storm. And you got this one out here to the west towards Lincoln County, but so far that again, we'll have to watch that because that actually looks like it's trying to organize a little bit as it heads up towards the Petersburg area and eventually up here towards possibly Lynchburg. So you may have another thunderstorm heading your way up there towards Lynchburg, Moore County here down the road. So heads up there. Let's see if I'm not missing anything, and no. So that's good. So I'm not missing anything else on that end. So let me check to see what the hail indicator here looks like on this. Yep, still seeing purple in here. When you see this purple, that's an indication of large hail. As I say, it's not golf ball, it's not baseball technically, but it's quarter size, maybe an isolated $half size one in there, and that's moving due east. So right in this area where I circled where the purple and all that is, that's the indication of large hail moving east right along the Grundy, Marion, and Sequatchie County lines. And it's going to move into the western end of Sequatchie County, near just north of Cartwright, and eventually down here towards Doss Mountain and into the Doss community. That's where we do have that potential for some large hail. Again, right in this area where you have the purple, and I'll put it back on reflectivity, and you'll be able to see right here it matches up very well with it. So, again, if you're in Colmont, if you're in Tracy, in Monteagle and Pelham, this storm has passed to your east. You are all clear from this one thunderstorm. This is passing to your east now. So you don't have to worry about this storm anymore out there. So if you're out in those areas, you do not have to worry about it. It's to your east. Again, Franklin County, Coffee County, you're good for now. You're in a lull. So considering the time of day, you might destabilize a little bit. So it may warm back up a little bit as we for about another hour before it falls down again as we get closer to sunset. But again, that's what we're going to have to watch here, because storms like this right out here towards Lincoln County could actually re-intensify and form right along a boundary left behind by this. And that's another thing we're also going to have to watch too that I've forgotten to mention. What can happen sometimes, especially this time of year, once we get into the summer, these thunderstorms right here can lay out a boundary that can drape across a certain area and allow more storms to kind of ride along and just south and just keep doing it like trains on a train track. So that's just something we're going to have to keep an eye on, is whether or not this leaves out a boundary and allows other cells to potentially form along that just to the south and allows them to become intense. So far, actually, this one out here, moving northeast towards Petersburg and the north side of Fayetteville here, basically the same area that had that tornado warning about an hour or two ago. This is actually this is the first storm that's actually so far successfully actually trying to follow that boundary that this left behind. So it'll be very interesting here over the next few minutes or so, next several minutes, to see what this does as this moves off to the east. Because if it hooks to the right, it's got a chance to strengthen. But if it hooks back north, there's a chance it may actually weaken and fall apart. But again, there you go. It keeps strengthening. So we got to watch that. So I think we have an increasing potential here. We have at least a strong storm developing, but it could become a severe storm here, moving into the northwestern end of Lincoln County. And let's make sure that doesn't have rotation on it. There's no formal warning on it, but again, it's got some strong wind, but I'm not seeing circulation in that. But again, all these storms, you see that little appendage right there. That's where you got to watch carefully, because all these storms have that capability today of spinning. So let's get back up here towards Griffith Creek and Palm here, but I figured I'd give a heads up there for those in northern Lincoln County and into western Moore County, because there may be another strong to severe thunderstorm developing on the tail end of the outflow boundary that this is leaving behind, more than likely. So again, now I will have to say the red and green tighten up a little bit on this, but I'm still not seeing a major tornado concern at this time. But again, that red and green did tighten back up just a little bit, so we'll have to keep an eye on it here. That's why I'm still on here, because I don't want to. I want to make sure that if this were to die away, I hope it would die away completely, because the storm itself, because unfortunately, this thing's going to cycle and keep cycling the way it keeps going. But right here, there's the big indication of hail on the north side heading east. Well, all the lightning in that, a lot of lightning. And again, right in here, where you see this C shape, that's where, if there were to be a spin up, that's where it'd be. So right now it's pretty much crossing 108 on the north side of Griffith Creek right now is where the strongest indication of gusty wind and hail is. Again, I'm not going to rule out the possibility of a small tornado here. I mean, the velocities thankfully look pretty weak. I'll check the other source, see how it looks on there, see if I can verify it. And yep, right there, it actually shows up better. The velocity shows up better on here. So this is max 2 right here. Right in here, you could see when you have the red and green meeting up like this, that's where we could have the possibility of maybe a small spin up here, moving east north of Griffith Creek. Now, I want to stress here, this is not a formal tornado warning. Not a formal tornado warning, it's just something I'm watching. No imminent threat, but something to watch. And plus, this severe thunderstorm warning does have a tornado possible tag on it, so treat it as such. So again, here's Dunlap, Center Point, Doss. Get ready for some hail and damaging wind gusts here pretty soon. Within the next 20 to 30 minutes, the storm is heading your way. And again, what I don't like about this storm, what I've not liked about it, is it continues to be all by itself, and it's got its own fuel. So if it takes advantage of that, it could be a big problem here down the road. It's already been a problem in the western areas, but up in here is what I'm seeing in here. Let's make sure this thing isn't actually on the ground or anything. Okay, good, it's not, so that's good. So thankfully this is not down or anything, but we'll probably get at least a new severe thunderstorm warning, I'd imagine, out of this, and they'll probably keep the tornado possible tag, I'd imagine, on this for Sequatchie County and the far northern end of Marion County. So, but this is not going to include any of the big cities of Marion County. So the big towns in Marion County are not going to be involved in this. So Whitwell, this isn't an issue for you. Jasper, South Pitt, well north of you, no problem for you. Now, if you're in Whitwell, you're probably hearing, you may hear the thunder from this, but this will not be a concern for you. So again, there you go right there. So we still got some red and green. It's fairly broad, but we can still get a small spin up that forms out of this. So we got to watch that carefully for those of you in Doss. So Doss Mountain, Doss area, Bryant community there in portions of Sequatchie County, not Sand Mountain, but the one in Sequatchie County. There's Cartwright right there. Here's East Valley Road. So this would be on the Sequatchie County side of East Valley Road. Heading up towards Center Point. There's Taft Highway right here. So that's where the thunderstorm is. And I'll show you where it looks like on reflectivity. And right there is where that thunderstorm is. So wind and hail for sure. Heading up here on the south side of Dunlap. And you're already getting rain up there, but you're about to get it even heavier here soon. Now, they just expired the severe thunderstorm warning that was in effect for those of you in Grundy County. So if you're in Grundy County, you no longer have the severe thunderstorm warning in effect. They just canceled yours. So I know this hadn't technically popped out of that just yet, but on this source here, they've canceled it. So I'll stick over here for now because this is the latest information here. So again, Grundy County, your severe thunderstorm warning has been canceled. Again, the worst of the storm is to the south and east, and that's the reason why, because the storm is pulled out of the county. This is now a Griffith Creek and north and east issue. So from Griffith Creek up through Fredonia, Doss area, and into Dunlap, this is the zone now. So it'd be this zone right here is what I'm alluding to. Actually, it's moving more east, so let me correct that line movement. So it's moving something like this. So it's in this zone right here is the main issue zone now. So that includes Dunlap. It also includes Lewis Chapel area. I know you don't have a warning technically yet, but you do have the potential for wind and hail moving your way next. And this is eventually going to come out here towards Mowbray Mountain, Flat Top Mountain, the Hendon community of Bledsoe County, if it can get that far north. That's going to be the next trajectory of this thunderstorm. And as I said earlier, this is the same one This is the same supercell that produced that tornado in Lauderdale County, Alabama earlier. And also Cannon County, I just got word in, Cannon County now has a severe thunderstorm warning. This is for the big hailstorm that was on, wow, they're calling for baseball-sized hail on this. This is for Williamson, Rutherford, Wilson, and Cannon. Cannon's the one in our viewing area, but wow, some baseball-sized hail here being indicated by Doppler radar. And the hail damage threat's destructive. So this is for the Murfreesboro area, and this is also for Woodbury. Now, I think the worst of this is probably going to pass north of Woodbury by a good bit. But, again, if you're in Cannon County, you are under what they're calling a destructive tag severe thunderstorm warning for possibly baseball-sized hail. But I'll be honest with you, I'm looking at the hail core now. It's really came down, thankfully. So, at this point, I'm really not seeing that anymore like I was seeing earlier around Franklin, but in the Franklin, Tennessee area. But man, it's a nasty storm right there moving into Rutherford County. Also, possible tornado approaching Columbia, Tennessee right now. If you know anybody there, make sure they're sheltered. Also, another potential long-track supercell may be getting going here in Colbert County, Alabama. So close to the shoals. So big hook echo on this too. I know the zooming in thing's kind of lagging a little bit, but some big hail on the north side and a possible tornado on the southwest side. Again, a classic supercell for sure. And unfortunately, that cell's all by itself, so this has the potential to go a pretty long distance. As I said earlier, this might impact Jackson County down the road if that holds together. And we got more severe thunderstorm and tornado warnings to the north and south and west, and we'll have to watch also these storms down in here south of Memphis, because those will also head up our way down the road. And we still got this one storm north of Fayetteville, but that's weakened considerably, thankfully. It's kind of broadened out. So, and now let's check on this one here. Now, this one's also lost a little bit of intensity here north and east of Griffith Creek. But again, it's still got a little bit of some very strong wind, perhaps a little bit of weak upper level rotation, but nothing that really jumps out here. And the warning expires here in about 5 minutes, so we'll see what Morristown does on this warning. Now we live in an interesting position here. So, in this area here, here's a fun fact. I don't know if it'll let me. Unfortunately, this is lagging a little bit right here, but this service area right here from the NWS is Morristown. So, I'll put M right here for Morristown. Right here is Atlanta, Peachtree City, is North Georgia. And in Franklin, Lincoln, and Moore, and the rest of northeast Alabama here, that's Huntsville. And the rest is all Nashville up in here. So it's interesting here. We live basically on the border between 4 different National Weather Service offices. This is Nashville's area. This is Huntsville's warning area. That's Atlanta's down in North Georgia. And then East Tennessee is Morristown. So it's interesting. It's very unique. I will say it that way. So we're right on the border between the 4 different Weather Service offices. Just wanted to point that out. This is actually right now in the Morristown service area. So that's who's issuing the warnings on this cell. So this is moving north of Cartwright and moving out up here towards Center Point. Again, the south side of Dunlap. Here's where that 127-28 split is there on the south side of town. You got the McDonald's, the Fast Pace, and all the schools that are out in there. That's where this pretty nasty thunderstorm is moving in. Again, it's a pretty hefty storm. I mean, right now, I feel like it's a weaker storm at the moment. Could it re-intensify? Yes. But at the moment, I see it as a weaker storm. And as I said here, we'll see what they do with this warning here once it expires here at 5 o'clock. But at the moment, it does appear that this cell is on a weakening trend at this time. But as I said, as always, it could always change. Even seeing a little bit of a hail signature here on the correlation coefficient. That's usually used for tornado debris, but up here on this north end, that's the hail signature showing up here where all these yellows are. So that's a potential of hail. And we're still getting some large hail in this, so that's still the possibility. There could be some large hail in that. And there's your new severe thunderstorm warning. So just as I say that, they've extended the warning. This is going to go all the way out to northern Hamilton County. So this is going to include Sail Creek and Soddy, Dunlap. So Dunlap is in this warning. Also Cartwright, Doss, Lewis Chapel area, Hendon and Bledsoe County. goes just about to Graysville, but it misses Graysville there by a little bit. So not really seeing a major concern in Graysville right now. But this is going to stay probably just south of there. But Sail Creek's in, Bakel's in, Saudy's in. The north side of Lakeside, but it looks like Lakeside's going to miss out on the majority of this storm. And this is going to track east. Let me get you the latest information here. This is a severe thunderstorm here that's capable of producing hail and damaging winds. Let me see if we got the hail size potential and all that on here. Again, they've actually decreased the hail size, so it's actually penny size, and I can see that. That's what I'm believing too. So, yep. So I believe this is for penny size hail and 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts. It says a severe thunderstorm at 4:55 p.m. Central. That's 5:55 p.m. Eastern time. A severe thunderstorm was located near Dunlap, and it's moving off to the east at 30 miles an hour. Hazard is 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts and penny size hail. That's radar indicated. Locations in the path include Cartwright, Flat Top Mountain, Dunlap, the North Chickamauga Creek Gorge, Soddy Daisy, well, specifically the north side of Soddy Daisy here, Mowbray Mountain, and also Shady Grove and Sail Creek. So again, Cartwright, Flat Top Mountain, Dunlap, Soddy, Mowbray, Flat Top area, Shady Grove, and Sail Creek are in the path of this storm. So again, let's see here. We've got a little bit of hail. Again, the hail will be in the pink. So this pink area you see here is the hail. The wind threat, the damaging wind threat will be more down in here on the southern half of the hook echo area you see on here. It's not the strongest hook in the world, but that's where the stronger winds are that are punching out of this. So they have taken off the tornado possible tag on this. So that's some good news too. Now this one had the tornado possible tag, but this one's been removed from that. So some great news there. So at the moment, I'm no longer seeing a threat of a tornado from this. I'm seeing more of a wind and hail deal. So heads up in the Dunlap area. It points south, but the good news is the hail is not a damaging hail. So penny-size hail is not damaging. That's actually below severe levels technically. But the wind gusts could be 58 to 60. So that is a severe thunderstorm considering the wind gust potential. So heads up there, heads up in Center Point, heads up towards the Overlook, and out here towards Lewis Chapel, up here towards Flat Top and Mowbray. This is where we have this possible severe thunderstorm moving to the east. And I'll tell you, this storm appears really intensifying now. It was weaker earlier, but now right around Petersburg and Lincoln County. Now this is trending east, so and actually kind of northeast. So this is actually getting ready to move out of our area up into Bedford County around Shelbyville here. So that's moving up into towards the Shelbyville area, so that's technically out of the coverage area. But if you know anybody up in there, make sure they're aware that they have a pretty strong storm that's moving up that way. But again, what could happen here? If this curves right, if it strengthens, it may curve to the right and try to impact parts of Coffee County. So I would not let my guard down in Coffee County just yet, even though right now this is trending more towards Shelbyville, because if this strengthens and becomes severe, it will go from northeast to more of a east-northeast. It'll curve more to the right. So just a little heads up there. Not an immediate threat, considering this is not a severe storm at the moment, but it's something to watch. And they also expanded that severe thunderstorm area on the north side of this. That does include the western part of the Huntsville area for this supercell that's heading towards Jackson County. But that now be heading down there down the road. But again, here's an update on this storm approaching Dunlap. You can see right here, actually gone in street level. Here's Rankin. So this is Rankin Avenue right here. So Rankin Avenue in downtown Dunlap's on the north side of this storm. So you're getting mainly heavy rain there. The hail threat is passing just south. So just south of the schools and out here towards the Army National Guard and down here towards Doss. That's going to be the area right here. So there's Center Point. That's East Valley right there. There's Lewis Chapel Road right out in here. That's 111. Overlooks right in through here. Again, so that's going to be the trajectory of the storm near and just south of Highway 111. So that's going to take it out here. And this will probably miss most of Bledsoe County. So other than maybe the Hendon area, the rest of Bledsoe will not be impacted by this. So if you're in Pikeville or Lee Station or New Harmony or Palo even, This is in our Brockdale area. This is going to stay south of you. Same with Melvine and Mount Crest. This is all going to stay south of you. So this is not going to be impact for most of Bledsoe, but this is going to be mainly a Squatchy and Northern Hamilton issue. And I want to stress this does not include the city of Chattanooga. This does not include Ooltewah, doesn't include Red Bank. Well, it doesn't include Cleveland and Bradley County either, but it does not include Red Bank, does not include Signal Mountain, or any of the major cities in the southern half of Hamilton County. This is mainly from Soddy and north. So Soddy and north all the way up to just west of Graysville. So Sale Creek area, Bakewell, towards Flat Top Mountain, Mowbray Mountain. That's the zone in this warning polygon that has the potential to see wind and hail. And again, this warning goes out through the next 48 minutes. So this goes out for almost an hour. So, and let me double check and make sure we're not seeing any indications of rotation. Well, it's actually pretty close, but I'm seeing a pretty strong downbursting. Let me see what that wind looks like right down there. That's a severe gust right there. So that's 58. So that's a severe level gust. So definitely pretty strong downbursting here heading up into the center point area right now. So the Taft Highway overlooks about right here, so it's just north of there. And this is northeast of the New Hope area right along the Squatchy-Marion County line. So here's East Valley. There's 28. And this is heading up here towards Lewis Chapel. And up here towards 111. So it's getting ready to cross up towards 111 here soon. Looks like it's actually going to trend right east-northeast. And there's Flat Top itself. So there's Flat Top Mountain. And there's Mowbray. Actually, this might actually pass north of Mowbray, the way it's looking. The worst of this. So the worst of this may be more towards Flat Top Mountain as opposed to Mowbray, as long as it continues its east-northeast progression. Let's make sure we don't have a new update on that warning. Looks like another little showers try to develop here on the north side of Red Bank, but so far that hasn't become severe or anything worrying at the moment, so nothing severe there. Again, checking on Cannon County here real quick, because that's the only other area that's involved in the warning. You don't have a storm at the moment, but this storm has a history of producing reportedly baseball-sized hail in the Franklin, Williamson County area, so Franklin, Tennessee, the city of Franklin. That's moving east, but I think it's lost its baseball size, and I think it's more towards probably a quarter and lower. But they have observed baseball-sized hail in that, so definitely a nasty storm there, moving up towards the Auburntown area of Cannon County, and eventually up here south of Lebanon. So those areas need to be on guard of hail. And again, that severe thunderstorm warning goes out for the next hour for considerable golf ball size hail and 60-mile-an-hour winds, and that warning goes out to an hour. So here's 1 hour, and this will be in the Huntsville area probably within the next hour. So again, heads up there, and eventually towards Scottsboro and perhaps Stevenson. This is also going to head your way within the next 2 hours. As I said, 1 to 2 to 3 hours or so in that time frame. That's when that's going to move into northeast Alabama here, so roughly Jackson County. Possibly Marshall as well now, because if it does curve to a little bit to the right, it might head down towards a little bit of Marshall County and perhaps even northern part of DeKalb as well. And eventually, if that holds together, those of you in Dade, Walker, Catoosa, Whitfield counties, you may see this storm too. So, again, as I said, these storms today are going to have the capability. They will have the capability to go a pretty long ways. Now, let's check on here. Let's see if we have any new updates on this. The new radar scan just came in. You can still see a very strong indication of this downburst wind here. You see by the bright red you see here. Very strong indication of a gusty to perhaps damaging wind gusts here on the south side. Moving through center point. Now, this is the worst of this. You're getting torrential rain there in downtown Dunlap, but the worst of this is actually to your south by a good bit. So that's the good news. But again, we just got to keep an eye on things and make sure that everybody's staying safe here, because we just got to watch out for all this. But northern Hamilton County, so Soddy and north, up towards the Hendon area, Bledsoe County. But as I said, I think most of Bledsoe is going to miss out on this one. And this is going to be heading up towards Bakewell and Sale Creek. So there's a lot of different places here also in the past. So this is the North Chickamauga Creek Gorge and all that. They're also in the line of this. That's going to be in those areas too. So as I said, there's a lot of territory here being involved, but it looks like most of this will also pass north of Saudi. So I really don't think this is going to be an issue as much for Saudi Daisy. But again, we're going to have to really keep an eye on things at this point. So again, we're still going to have the possibility here through the evening hours, as this second line back out to the Westminster, we're going to have the potential for multiple supercell storms that move through the parts of the area here. I mean, this is the one of several that's back here. I mean, we've got to really keep an eye on all this out here to the west. I'm just telling you, this could be. It's just gonna. We're just gonna have to wait and see. I mean, how this evolves here, because this could still break up or weaken or re-intensify. Now, actually, back out in here, I'm actually seeing some encouraging things back out here to the west. This out in here is actually breaking up quite a bit. It's not as strong as it was earlier out here. So there's actually a chance a few areas might get split tonight. Now, I'm not guaranteeing that will happen, but with this next wave, there's actually a chance a few areas might get split somewhat. In other words, storms will probably happen to your north and south, but it may not be in your area. Now, I can't get exactly where that would be, but I'm just saying there's a possibility and don't want you to be surprised. There's a chance you might get split out of this. So the good thing here is at this point, I'm not seeing signs of a tornado in this storm. Now, I'm seeing a strong downburst over the center point area as it crosses up a Walton's Ridge here. But at the moment, I'm not seeing imminent tornado. Now, I'll have to check the storm relative on here just to make sure that's not anything wild there. Let me see here. This is the storm relative. Yeah, not really seeing anything too crazy there. I'll actually query the wind on that. 48. Oh, wow. 66 right there. So, yeah, definitely some very strong wind there moving up across, up atop Lewis Chapel Mountain and up here towards Flat Top Mountain and areas north of Saudi towards Sell Creek and Bakewell. So, all right, here's what I'm going to do here for now. So, I'm going to go ahead and sign off here for coverage since we don't have an imminent tornado threat. Now, I want to keep in mind here, if we do get a tornado warning, I'll be right back on here. So, actually, wait a minute. That actually strengthened a little bit. I'm going to hold on here. So, this actually strengthened back up. So, I'm going to give you a heads up here. If you're up here towards Flat Top Mountain, north side of Mowbray, this cell actually is now starting to show signs of a little bit of rotation as it's coming up the mountain here. I do think elevation is playing a part of this. So right here is where I'm seeing it. So let me put on storm relative. You see this a little bit better. Right there. So right in here. So unfortunately on that last scan, it just intensified right there. So here's Lewis Chapel Road right here. There's where the exit is with 111. This is the area right here where there could be a tornado. This is not my own tornado warning. I want to stress that. I'm not issuing my own tornado warning here. I'm just giving you a heads up here that if you are north of Saudi, if you're up towards Sell Creek and up here towards Flat Top Mountain, I am seeing signs of increasing upper level rotation. Not surface, but upper level rotation. That could be the future emphasis of a possible tornadic signature here. So I'm just giving you a little bit of heads up here. So here's 111 right here. Here's the Flat Top Mountain exit right here. So that's where the gas station is as you come up the mountain up here. That's where the area that's in line for this. So let me put on the direction of movement here. And I'll put a storm track on it actually. So right as I was getting ready to get off because things were looking weak, all of a sudden this re-intensified again. I tell you, this supercell just does not want to go away. So let me put a track on that, and I'll actually track it from the velocity couplet here. So let me try that on the right. Okay, I'm on the wrong source, and let me get back on the velocity. There we go. So we're moving that east there at 30 miles an hour. And we'll track it basically to about the Meigs County line here. So those of you in Flat Top Mountain, this will be near you at around 525. Bakewell around 534. Opossum Creek Pines at 538. Sell Creek at 541. And Birchwood around 551. That's for this cell right here. Again, very strong winds for sure on the south side of this. That I cannot rule out the possibility that this thing could pop down a brief, small tornado. And again, it's still there. So that, unfortunately, that really wasn't a fluke. Now, it did come down a little bit on that last scan, but right here is where I'm seeing a little bit of spin up in the upper levels. You see kind of where it's starting to hook around a little bit right here. That's where you could see a small tornado try to develop right in here. So right here, here's Lewis Chapel. Let's actually get down here a little bit further in the street level here, and I'll go on the other source so we can see that a little bit better. So that's Lewis Chapel Road right there. That's also Henson Gap Road. So we'll get down here closer to, again, as I said, no formal tornado warning at the moment, but we're watching. Greenbrier Lane, Goose Creek Lane, Harris Road. So we're now heading up here towards, again, there's Goose Creek Lane again, Dayton number 3 mine, Quarry Road, Pete Green Road. There's the Sawmill Creek, Elder Church, so Snyder Loop, Hickory Lane, Linda Drive, Sims Road, Buck Run Estates Road. That's the imminent area right now where I'm seeing, at least at the minimum, some very strong downburst winds that could be 50 to 60 miles an hour. Hail core is also, looks like it's increased a little bit on this northeast side too, and on the south side of this, there may be a small tornado trying to spin up. Now, I've not gotten any new other indications from the NWS chat or anything like that of future issuance of any other warning, but here's Lewis Chapel again. Let me show you where the hail core is going to be. So this is going to be for the hail core. Windy Way, Pierce Trail, Stevenson Lane, right there towards the Lewis Chapel area, so Lewis Chapel School, Lewis Chapel Church, Snyder Loop, Denny Harvey Road. There's 111. So yeah, it's right over that area right now. So where you see all this area in pink right here, that's where the hail core is. There's Henson Gap again. That's Tri-Mile Road, J. Harvey Road, Shell Road, Trillium Lane. That's going to be the area involved in this, and that's also Cross Hill Road and Dry Creek. So that's going to be the area where the hail core is. I mean, it's not a large hail core, but it's enough to watch. So again, right in here would be the area where the strong downburst is and where there could be a little bit of broad rotation. I mean, it's a very broad area, but it's enough to where we have to watch it carefully. Again, at this time, we don't have any other severe storms in the area. As I said, this is the only one. But there could be multiple more here later this evening. We got to really keep an eye on things. So this is going to be the zone right here where we have to watch carefully as this moves off to the east. Now, it looks like another little shower is developing here farther south. So right over here towards Mullins Cove and up towards Prentice Cooper, there's actually another little small shower that's developing up in those areas. So just a little heads up there. So there's Suck Creek. Now, so far, it's not fully organized. But again, we've seen how these things can actually really ramp up here. So this has the potential to grow, and actually grew a little bit right there. So it's a little small downpour here. Moving east of State Route 27, that's Griffith Highway. Moving right towards Prentice Cooper. So it could be a little quick downpour there in the next few minutes, but nothing severe. And then I don't see anything farther south in Jackson County or anything like that at the moment. But this supercell back out here to the west is a big hail producer. We've lost the tornado warning, thankfully, but it still has that potential to produce some big hail and perhaps even a little bit of rotation on the south side. But again, this is the main severe storm in town. I'm holding on this because there's still that possibility of a little bit of spin here. And thankfully on that last volume scan, it continues. It's actually weakened a little bit furthermore again. So again, this storm is a cyclic one. It's going to go up, it goes down. It's a pretty wild one. And that wind signature looked a lot weaker right there. So that's some great news there. So hopefully this thing is continuing to fall apart and all that. I'm hoping it does. But again, still could be some small hail here on this northeast flank, heading up here towards the Hendon area of Bledsoe County, and then up here towards a Flat Top Mountain. So with that said here, what I'm going to do here is, considering this storm right now, at the moment, is on a weaker state and is no longer showing any signs of an immediate rotation, I'm going to go ahead and sign off here for now. But if we do get a tornado warning on this storm or any other storms this evening, I'm going to pop right back on here pretty quickly and go on until the danger ends. So with that said, I hope all of you have a good evening and stay tuned for updates. I'll be updating throughout the evening.